1st, 2007. It is now 6:59, and we'd like to start the meeting, the council meeting tonight. Tonight we have the pleasure of Loretta Moscano, former chaplain of Brookwood Gardens, Signature Healthcare. She is going to lead us in the invocation, and followed by a beautiful rendition of God Bless America. I'd like to ask Councilman Maldonado to please read please lead us in the pledge. At this time, let's stand.
Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you tonight in the precious name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Thank you for your presence here. As we gather together, we ask for your wisdom and guidance. Thank you for your love, peace, and protection for each member of our City Council. We are confident that you appointed each member according to your will and purpose. Bless them, I pray, that they may know you and trust you daily. Anoint them with the ability to make strategic decisions that will honor you and that will continue to shape and strengthen our community. Bless them with health and strength in their homes, with their families, their marriages, and their children. I pray that your Spirit will rest upon each council member in wisdom, understanding, counsel and prayer, knowledge, and the fear of the Lord. I pray, Lord, that members of our community would become actively involved and support our leaders like never before. Ignite us with a passion to be citizens of conviction and integrity. Cause forgiveness to heal our past as we move forward with boldness and clarity of purpose. May we all fulfill our personal and professional destiny in you as we build hope and a unity for the future of our community, of our state, and of our great country. Thank you that we can call upon you and trust in your faithfulness. Truly, you are an awesome God. Amen.
Left wheel, march. Honor guard, halt. Bring it off. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, march. Right face. Forward, march.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you, Loretta. That was beautiful. I've heard that 3 times now from her, and it's just music to my ears. Fran?
The mayor approved it.
Okay, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Burgess,
Here.
Councilwoman Lobos, Councilman Maldonado,
Here.
Councilman Shelley,
Here.
Councilman Williams,
Here.
Vice Mayor Warman, Mayor Bateman.
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, I'd like to open the floor to the public comments. Public comments, please come forward. It is now your time. Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on to item 1. And we've got something, it looks like that we've put in here that we want to additions, deletions, deferrals. Before I read the resolution, may I have a motion to move it forward?
Move it.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay. Richard, you want to read the resolution?
Resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, waiving prohibition on acceptance of travel expenses in the form of meals as provided by city vendors in conjunction with the Florida League of Cities Conference, the Florida Municipal Electric Conference, the National Association of Latino Elected Officials, and the Governor's Conference on Tourism, as authorized by Section 2-11.1W of the Miami-Dade County Code of Ethics, providing for an effective date.
Okay, so now we need a motion to accept it. And second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. At this time, we're going to move into special presentations, and it looks like I'm first on the agenda here. Okay, good evening again. At this time, I'd like to tell you a little bit about Joe Peranzino, who a very near and dear friend of mine, who has volunteered for the City of Homestead since 1995 to 2004. At 2004, we as city employees decided we couldn't do without him, and they hired him at 2004, and he worked until 2010. Joe has always been a willing and ready and able volunteer and employee. I mean, the list of items that he's done here is incredible. He's run the ceramic program at the former Musselwhite Senior Citizen Center, now Community Center, and did an excellent job at it. I remember the Thanksgiving Day dinners. Worked in the kitchen. He worked in the serving line. Set up for parties. He certified himself to watch the inmates that we use to do a lot of the incidentals around the center. I mean, don't laugh, but he even baked cakes there, right, Joe? He's a cake baker. He's done a lot. He was Santa at the Breakfast with Santa program. He made centerpieces for special occasions. He's just one of those guys that when you needed somebody, he was always there. And now Joe has decided to actually retire 110% and do a little traveling. So Joe, if you would come up, I've got something that I'd like to dedicate to you. Read it to you here. It says, Joe Peranzino, for your committed and dedication to the City of Homestead community, the City of Homestead salutes you. June 2010.
Thank you so much.
You want to say a few things? You've been here for 15 years. Come on.
First, I want to thank Steve, Judy, who's been my friend for many years, and the new council, Elvis, Steve, Jim, John. All I can say is thanks.
Joe, if I could just say, I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you because when you want the job done, you give it to Joe. And he is the best. He's my teddy bear. I love you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. God bless you, and please travel with Godspeed. Secondly, I'd like to recognize a local business that has been very helpful, a new business in Homestead. Recently, we held our 2010 visiting session. The visiting session was held on May 20th, 2010. This visiting session was very important for us, as this is where the mayor and council come together to build their goals. And we spent 8 hours, can you imagine, in the same room, building goals. But it was truly a wonderful session, and the Hampton Inn deserves a tremendous thanks. And if Danielle Torres would come up, she is the director of sales. And also, they also, in conjunction with the Hampton Inn, owned by the same people, the Aboses, is Coal Fire Pizza. And Coal Fire Pizza actually put on a wonderful lunch for all of us. It was quite a spread, and we didn't have to leave the building for 8 solid hours. And if you haven't seen the inside of that hotel, it is absolutely beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So would Robert Click come up, please, the general manager of Coal Fire Pizza, and Danielle Torres. Danielle, your hospitality goes without saying. You were Johnny on the spot. Everything was right there for us, anything and everything we needed. And we just had this little certificate of appreciation, and certificate of appreciation is given to you, Danielle Torres, for your contribution in making our visioning session a success. And it truly has been a success. And it's local businesses like yourself that make us one. We become a family here, and we're there to help you, and you definitely helped us. Thank you, Danielle. Picture first, I need to speak. Talk about it. How many rooms? How big is it?
Our property is brand new. We're off of the Turnpike at Exit 2, for any of you that haven't noticed the big, tall building over by the hospital. We're 126 rooms. We are a little over 2,000 square feet of flexible indoor and outdoor meeting space. We're very happy to be a part of the community. We're trying to take every opportunity that we can to be able to expose ourselves, to help the community, and to be able to fill the hotel and the meeting space that we have. So for any of you that don't know or would like to know more about the hotel, come see us. Thanks. Thank you, Mayor.
Danielle. Thank you. And Robert, I know from the Longhorn days and now the Coal Fire Pizza days, and there's not a time you don't go in there, Robert doesn't have a big old smile on his face and it says, "Welcome, Mayor." And my wife and I and my son, we frequent Coal Fire Pizza quite often. But again, a certificate of appreciation, Portofino's Coal Fire Pizza, for your generosity, contribution in making our visioning session a success. The City of Homestead salutes you.
Just want to say thank you for all the support. Since we've been open, we've been able to serve a lot of meals, and we've been try to be as active as possible within the community on different avenues. So I just appreciate the opportunity for everything. And thank you so much. And just to let everyone know, we just opened up our newest concept next door to Portofino Coal Fire Pizza called Scoops Creamery. And just like to invite you out for a nice ice cream cone. Thank you.
Last but not least, Larry Abbo was not able to make it here, but Larry is part of a large family that has done some wonderful things in Homestead. And if you'd take this back to Larry, I'd appreciate it. All right? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. They're not going to be here tonight. Mr. Maldonado. Councilman Maldonado, I think we're going to skip Mr. Wynn. Oh, the basketball. Okay, I'm sorry. Police Athletic League basketball team. Recognition, Mr. Williams. That was the bottom one. He said it. I didn't know. Well, he stopped me, but I'm not going to do that.
Good afternoon. Mayor and Council, it is my esteemed pleasure to recognize the Police Athletic League basketball team. Most of you know that the PAL Center, better known as the PAL Gym, is located right in the southwest area. And these outstanding young people represented our city well, and so I would like to present them with a certificate of recognition to let them know that their city is proud of what they have done and accomplished. And so at this time, I want to call Tyrone Edwards, and also Police Chief. Don't look like that, Chief. Come on with me. That comes under you. The Power Gym.
It's playing hard to get.
Yeah. And Tyrone is. Let me just say this. During the time where it looked like that the team would not be able to go and compete because of some scribblers errors in their forms, the chief and I and others got on the phone with the leadership of Tyrone Edwards to make sure that they are able to play and represent the city of Homestead. And it took a lot of willpower, and they bent, and so I wanted to recognize them because they almost didn't have the opportunity to go. But because of the great, excellent skills of Tyrone Edwards and our police chief, they were able to go. The Homestead PAL Boys 14 under basketball team competed and placed third in this Florida State PAL basketball championship statewide. And so I think that they deserve a Hercules of applause because they have represented Homestead extremely well. And I want to call the coach up here who's had a success in their development, Mr. Michael Britt. He'll come. He deserves because he volunteers. He does not get paid. He volunteers with these young kids. So what I like to do is present him with that. Come on. Thank you, sir. And the certificate reads, certificate of recognition, that this certificate is awarded to Coach Michael Briggs in recognition of your outstanding accomplishments of placing third in the State Police Athletic League basketball tournament. The City of Homestead salutes you and the incredible work that you have done with these young people. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Now I want to call each individual player so that they are recognized. With work like this going on, they're off the streets. And if they're off the streets, then that means crime is not being committed. And so I want to recognize them not only for their scholastical leadership, but for their athletic leadership. And so, Mr. Alexander. Mr. Alexander, the City of Homestead Certificate of Recognition. This certificate is awarded to Maurice Alexander in recognition for your outstanding accomplishment on placing third in the State Police Athletic League basketball tournament. The City of Homestead salute you. Good job. Hang tight for your other teammates. Mr. Britz. Is this your son? Yes, sir. All right. Amen. Good job, son. Mr. Cutright. Congratulations. Thank you. Keep up the good work. Mr. Edwards, I assume that this is your son? Well, I know he stays out of trouble. Good job, Mr. Edwards. And Mr. Hunter. Mr. Hunter, congratulations. Mr. Livingston. Congratulations, son. Mr. Lloyd. Congratulations, son. Mr. Mays. Congratulations. Thank you, sir. Mr. Melvin III. Congratulations, son. And last, not least, Mr. Scott. Congratulations. And if we'll get a group picture, Mayor, if you'll join us for a group picture. Oftentimes, our young people does not get the opportunity to be recognized. And so it is very important that we continue to lift our young people up as they continue to strive for not only academic excellence, but also athletic. Wow, trophies. These are trophies. These are what you were brought back to the city of Homestead. We thank you. Yes, we'll come. Also, I forgot one thing, so if y'all are double back this way, I got to give you all one more token of appreciation. As your elected official, I want to give you a Homestead pin because you represent it so well, and you can wear this anytime you get ready, especially when you go out and you represent Homestead. We want to thank you for your excellence and your extraordinary accomplishments. Thank you so very much. All right. Thank you.
Councilman Maldonado. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm going to take a time today to recognize some volunteers that helped me out. This past May, we rallied all the educators in the city of Homestead and had a luncheon. It was a great event. I heard great comments. Many of the principals and administrators, part of the education system, were grateful that we made the effort to bring everyone together to discuss the issues of the city of Homestead. So with that, I just want to take a moment to recognize our student volunteers that helped us out with this education luncheon. Without them, wouldn't have been possible. There's many to be grateful for, but we just want to recognize these students today. And with that, we will ask Amanda Williams to please come forward. And I'll tell you a little bit about her as she comes up here. Amanda? Amanda Williams, 14 years old, just graduated from Ammons Middle School, and she's now entering the 9th grade at Robert Morgan High School this fall. Amanda. The certificate of appreciation. This certificate is awarded to Amanda Williams for your participation and volunteer efforts for the 2010 Community Education Luncheon. The City of Homestead salutes you. Presented this day, the 21st of June, 2010. Thank you for all your help. And I also want to bring out Anelias Izquierda. She is 15 years old and has been homeschooled since the 6th grade and is now entering the 11th grade. Will be a dual enrolled at Miami-Dade Community College in the fall to acquire her high school and associate's degree concurrently. Certificate of appreciation. This certificate is awarded to Anelias M. Izquierdo for your participation and volunteer effort at the 2010 Community Education Luncheon. The City of Homestead salutes you. Presented this day, the 21st June 2010. Thank you for your help. We'd also like to recognize two others, which they're not present today, but nonetheless, they were very instrumental. And I want to recognize Nicole Wayne, 17 years old, homeschooled since the 2nd grade, just completed her high school education and is attending Miami-Dade Community College. And Diego Salazar, 17 years old, just completed his first year of homeschooling, entering the 11th grade in the fall. We'd like to also, we have some awards. They're also recognized, and they're not here today. Would you please come and accept the award on their behalf?
Thank you, Councilman Maldonado. At this time, Vice Mayor Wallman would like to recognize Scholar Athlete of the Year.
Thank you, Mayor. It's not often I get an opportunity to do something like this, but I'd like to honor one of our own tonight, our Assistant City Manager, Julio Brea, his daughter, Christina. Christina, would you come forward, please? I'll talk while she's coming. Christina's a remarkable young lady. I've known her for a long time. She smells good, too. Christina does something that all parents hope and pray will happen to them, and she has just excelled in her academics and athletics. She is the Dade County District Champ Cross Country 2007-2008, the Regional Runner-Up Cross Country 2007 and 08, Dade County District Champ 1600 meter 2007-2008, Dade County District Champ 3200 meter 7, 8, and 2009. Excuse me, Dade County District Champ High Jump 2007-2008. She's going to be an Olympic champion, I'm telling you. Regional Champ 3200 meter 2007, Regional Runner-Up 3200 meter 2008 and 9, State Finalist 3200 meter 7, 8, and 09, State finalist 1,600 meter, 2007 and 2009. You missed a year, I don't know. State finalist high jump, 2008. But not only is she good at sports, she's good at other things. She has a 5.20 GPA, National Merit Scholar finalist, National Hispanic Scholar, National Honor Society, Math National Honor Society, Spanish National Honor Society, English National Honor Society, and she was ranked second in her class at the, Our Lady of Lourdes Academy. So, with all of that being said, and this is what we parents always pray for, this child got a full ride to the University of Miami. So, so I just thought that was, we hear so much doom and gloom in the world and kids, doing this and that, but just like with our basketball champions, it's so important that we honor people who do such wonderful things. So I have a little something. And this is for Christina in honor of her in recognition of your outstanding accomplishments as Scholar Athlete of the Year finalist. So there you go. Would you like to say a few words? Okay. Make your daddy proud.
Well, I would just like to thank everyone in the council, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Judy, for this award. It's an honor, and I'd like to thank my parents who have always pushed me to excel. So, thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Come back now when you go to the Olympics and share the gold medal. We all want a little piece of that. All right, next on the agenda. Oh, sorry, Mayor.
No, please. The floor is yours.
Let me see if I can find what I'm looking for. Is Kamitra Driver here? Oh, Kamitra. I need to see you. I'll get that in just a minute. Let me introduce to you Kamitra Driver. She's the director for We Care. And it's a Homestead, We Care has a Homestead Energy Lend a Hand program, and it's a program that provides utility assistance to eligible families or individuals in the Homestead Energy Service area. This HELP program is intended to provide one-time assistance to families who are facing water, electric crisis due to an unforeseen circumstance. We Care of South Dade administers the HELP program and maintains all records of all transactions. They do wonderful things, and I'm just going to give her a chance to say a few words. But before she does that, Kamitra. I have a little present for Kamitra from our customer service department, and it is a check. We got it here for $20,000. And this check is to help families who have a hard time every now and then. And it is a one-time event, but we have $20,000, and Kamitra, it's our privilege because we know that you are the best overseer of this program and you do such wonderful things. And if you'd like to say a few words.
Just to clarify, the $20,000, not a penny of it comes to We Care and stays in our pocket.
No, it all goes out.
It all goes out, and none of it comes to Kamitra either. But all the money goes towards assisting some of our most needy families in the city of Homestead. And we're very excited. This is, I think, our 6th year that the city of Homestead has partnered with us on this project. It started out with the cry from the community saying, hey, we have people that cannot afford their light bills, people that are hardworking, that have come upon hard times, and they just need a little assistance. So we brought it to the city of Homestead, and they said, okay, we'll see what we can do to help you out. So each year they make this wonderful contribution to our residents in the area, and We Care is proud to be able to administer the funds along with several other partners in the community, including Galata, Mujer, and I knew I would get up here and forget the agency's names, Haitian Organization of Women, and Keisha, who else am I forgetting? And Project SOS, yes, definitely. So thank you so much to the City of Homestead for continuing to support the residents, and I appreciate working with you all, and I look forward to next year as well. Do I get to take the big check home with me today? No?
Just don't try to cash
that one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I was trying to be polite this time. Christy Thompson, would you come up here, please? And as Christy comes up, I'm just going to say a few words. As you all know, I'm a breast cancer survivor, and but long before I had breast cancer, I worked with the American Cancer Society since 1986, and have continued to be a volunteer since 1986. Relay for Life was started in 1999, I think, and I was a part of that, and I've been a part of every relay since then, chairing it many times. I'm so proud of Christy because she's one of ours as well, and she stepped up to the plate, and she not only chaired the city teams, but she chaired the overall event this year and did a really wonderful job. It was my honor to work with her, as I hope to work with her next year as well. And we have a lot of awards to give out tonight. Looks like she's got a long speech here. Not that long. It's just big. So I'm going to ask Christy to say a few words, and then we're going to give out some awards to all of the wonderful city employees who stepped up to the plate, really stepped up to the plate, and helped with the Relay for Life. So, Christy.
Thank you, Judy. Forgive me, I had a root canal today, so it's hard for me to talk and smile right now, but I can get by. I would like to take this opportunity to thank a very special group of employees who took it upon themselves to dedicate their personal time to an amazing cause. The selflessness that these individuals have is outstanding to me, and as I sit here trying to come up with the right words to say, I realize that nothing I can say can explain how much their efforts really mean to the world. Several years ago, while working for the City of Homestead, I heard about this cause called the Relay for Life, several years ago, which is a fundraiser hosted by the American Cancer Society. I have always been involved in charities here and there for personal reasons, but when I found out about the Relay for Life, I was in 100%. I did my research on different cancer-fighting organizations and felt extremely comfortable with the American Cancer Society because pretty much of all the money, aside from the administrative costs, goes towards patients and research. The following employees all have their own reasons why they joined the fight, and mostly for someone else. But today is their day to be recognized because without them, the American Cancer Society would not have been able to receive the $100,000 they've raised in the past few years. Thank you, friends, for your very hard work. And if you can come up here, and I'm going to go down the list of names. Some are not here today, but every one of them deserve to be recognized. Sherry Ader, Kimberly Elias, Flor Azurga, Milton Bailey, and the Solid Waste Department, because they did help us out quite a bit. Aurora Bolanos, Amanda Carr, Carol Edgar, Georgette Garrick, Araceli Garza, Arlene Gillian, Gudelia Hernandez, Ken Conkle, Jose Landrin, Carrie Latour, Debbie Leo, Guadalupe Leo, Bernie Lavalette, Debbie Liu, Betsy Matalana, Dennis Mayton, and the Parks and Rec Department. I can't explain to you how much they have helped us. Without the Parks and Rec Department, and I should say without Dennis, there's no way that we could do the Relay for Life. Absolutely not. Carol McPatrick, Jasmine Morales, Sandy Nanny, Jan Orenstein, who, by the way, won our DVD raffle today for the Relay for Life. Zuli Pascal, Marco Quijano, Barbara Quinones, my husband, Raul Rivas, for putting up with me for the past year and the relay, Denise Santana, Yolanda Saminego, Gary Schaefer, and Gary spearheaded getting the IBW back in. Thank you, Gary. Fran Schwartz, who has also put up with me. I keep telling her that she has to do everything. I don't ask. Nick Stingoni, Patty Sullivan, Julia Vickers, and Judy Waldman.
Listen, I'm going crazy up here. We're all these...
Don't make me laugh, it hurts to smile.
I didn't think she was going to read that fast.
And I definitely need to say thanks to my mom and my daughter, Charlotte and Serena, because they have also stepped up to the plate. My daughter is 12 years old, and she knows everything there is to know about charities. She can raise money for you in a heartbeat. And the last but not least, I want to give a very special thank you to Michael Hitt, because Mike has stepped up to the plate like nobody I have ever seen in the last few years with the Relay for Life. When I said jump, he asked me how high and is it okay to do it right now? He was really, really, really good. And besides helping out with the team, he definitely made me look good as the chair of the Relay for Life. So thank you, Mike, very, very much.
Here's your special one. Really special here.
And he gets a special one because he's the all-star team member in recognition of Mike Hitt for being an all-star team member. Thank you for your dedication in making the Relay for Life a success. June 2010, Mayor and Council, City of Homestead.
I can't smile, it hurts. Okay, no, we're not done. We're not done. I want to get a picture of her. Does everybody have their rewards yet? Christy, she was really reading those off, so. We can't forget Christy. Everybody get an award but Christy. So, I have one for her. And Christy, here's another one. Christy. Christy. There she is. In recognition of Christy Thompson for your many contributions and efforts in making the Relay for Life a success, thank you for your dedication. And come over here. I can never get her to stay still for more than a minute or two. So, like, in there. And now I'd really love it if you could go up there on the podium thing. And Dennis doesn't have an award, but Mayor, would you like to join us?
God bless you.
Would you like to join us?
Councilman Williams, doing a recognitions, appreciation of Business of the Month, A1 Economy Towing. Councilman Williams.
This is a new initiative that I started since last month, where we honor a business in the southwest area, but not only that, but for the city of Homestead. And I met this gentleman through towing my car.
Illegally, Mark?
No. And let me tell you, he is an incredible person. And he's been in our community for quite some time. I want to invite Hollis up, and I want to honor A1 Rutland Economy Towing of Homestead, Incorporated. Now, when I go and see him, he doesn't look like this. This is my friend, and he's been in this community for how long now? Almost 30 years or so?
A little over 30 years.
In the business, in and out. And let me tell you, it's people like him that keeps our economy going. It's people like him and his business that keeps people employed. And I want to salute you today because you employ quite a few people. And we continue, and we need your business here. And we're glad that you stuck around for so long. And so I thought it not robbery to honor you and your company for the outstanding work that you do. And so this certificate of recognition, this certificate is awarded to A1 Rutland Economy Towing of Homestead, Inc., Hollis, the owner, in recognition of your commitment and dedication to the Southwest area and Homestead community, presented this 21 day of June 2010. Not only that, but I want to pin you with a City of Homestead pin on your lapel. I want to do it on this side. Is that all right? You deserve this and more, and we thank you for your commitment, and I want to say thank you for what you do for us.
I've been here a long time.
Come on, well, I'm going to let you speak then. Go ahead. Since you...
Well, I was here for a long time. I worked after Andrew when everybody really needed help. We'd go there and fall out on a bed somewhere and lay down and get up and go back at it again. But nowadays there's a lot more people down and things are a little harder, but the economy being the way it is. So any of you that's got any help for me, I'd appreciate it. I need it.
Thank you so very
All
much.
right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Now when I come in there, I want to see that hanging. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Before we move on, I'd like to invite Tom David up to the podium. He's got an announcement he'd like to make. He got here right at the beginning of this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Just wanted to let the council know that...
Tom, just state your name and address.
Okay, sure. Tom David, I'm an attorney here in Homestead with offices at 381 North Chrome Avenue, Suite 200.
Thanks, sir.
I'm also on the Homestead Main Street Board, and I'm chairing the Economic Development Committee. And so I just want to let the council know that Homestead Main Street is participating in a grant application with Miami-Dade County to create an economic development portal which will allow companies that are multinational, national, out-of-state, and local to access business information through the portal. And so the reason for coming today is just to let you know what's going on. We're going to be focusing on Main Street activities and hopefully drawing more businesses to Homestead. The application is to the Economic Development Agency of the federal government. It's a $100,000 grant. The county's putting in about $100,000 in in-kind services, and we expect to see something in the fourth quarter of 2011. So we're very excited about it. Thanks for having us here to talk about it.
Maybe a little
I'm sorry. And we could not have done it, by the way, without Yvonne Knowles, who's the executive director of Main Street, kind of rushed and asked Sergio to come out of a meeting and sign a letter for us so we could get it submitted with the application. We want to thank you for that, Sergio. It helps a lot to have the city's assistance in these grant applications. I think we're the only municipality that's in this particular grant application with the county.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sorry, we forgot to thank the Homestead Police Department for their participation in the Relay for Life, so thank you, Chief, and please extend our sincere apologies that we forgot. We'll make it up to you next year.
Okay, moving along. Consent agenda. Motion?
Move it.
Second? Questions? All in favor? Aye. Nays? Motion carries. All right, public hearings.
Please be advised that the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment on any of these items, please indicate the item number you'd like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentation on each item. All testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to either be cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the counsel to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda package on each item is hereby entered into the record. Persons representing organizations must first present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Code Section 2591, any lobbyist must register before addressing council on any of the following items. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communications concerning any items on the agenda. At this time, the clerk will swear in any persons who wish to testify on the quasi-judicial item.
Please stand and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, hereby swear or affirm that the information I present shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. You may be seated.
Tab 16 is a final order of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting a certificate of use to allow the operation of a package store with the sale of beer, wine, and liquor for off-premise consumption located at 3020 Northeast 41st Terrace, as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date. Mr. Mayor, council members, we've heard from the clerk that the lobbyist registration form isn't accurately filled out by the applicant. The principal's not here this evening, so it cannot be cured. So your staff is requesting that this application be deferred to a date certain of next month.
I'll move that, Mayor.
Okay.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And so that date certain would be for the next council meeting, July 17th.
July 19th.
Okay.
July 19th.
July 19th? Stand corrected. July 19th. Okay, item 17, tab 17, legislative matters. Yes, tab 17 is an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 3, Alcoholic Beverages, Section 3-9, Hours of Sale, to amend regulations concerning the hours of sale of alcoholic beverages for off-premises consumption related to package stores, amending Section 3-11, Public Hearing, to revise notice requirements for applications for certificate of use for sales of alcoholic beverages, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. This is second reading. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Second. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Staff report.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, if you recall, this application came before you on first reading. A report was submitted to you showing how other cities handle this, the issue of additional hours on Sunday. And the discussion during that first reading ended up with the allowance, with the change in the hours from between that we would allow, that the city would allow the sale of alcoholic beverages between the hours of noon and 8 p.m. on Sundays. That was basically the
okay, thank you. Questions from council? Hearing no questions, I'll open the public hearing. Would anyone like to speak in support of the application? If so, come forward. Please state your name, address. Anyone that would like to speak in opposition, please come forward. Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Final comments from council? Hearing no final comments from council, roll call vote, please.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
No.
Vice Mayor Warman?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Tab 18. Tab 18 is an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 30 Zoning, Article 4, Supplemental District Regulations, Division 8, Special Exceptions, Section 30-531, established to permit interim agricultural uses within various zoning districts, and further amending Division 8 Special Exceptions by establishing Section 30-532, interim agricultural uses, providing for specific standards and criteria, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date. This is second reading.
I move it.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Staff report?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, if you recall, after some discussion, this use will be permitted as a special exception only in districts A1, A2, R1, R2, RTH, and PUD zoning districts. Per that last discussion that we had, once an application is submitted through the special exception process, the city will ensure that, and this was one item that was brought forward, that all the aesthetic and compatibility issues pertaining to the agricultural use will be addressed, and that the properties will be kept clean and kept up on a regular basis. So we will add those conditions as we review each application.
Okay, thank you. Questions from council?
Yes. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Williams.
I know you say you're going to add it. Might I add that because of this exemption, can we be assured at some possible phase that the tax revenue that we will get will still come to us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Okay, Council Williams?
Yeah. Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Burgess.
I'd like to make it,
Yes, sir.
in the last time that this was brought up, I had some language, and I'd like to go ahead and make an amendment to put this in there in writing instead of it just being a hearsay or, something that's been talked about. I'd like to see in here that all parcels shall be properly maintained with no pending code enforcement proceedings against them. All parcels should be free of the liens and related to code enforcement violations or proceedings, against them, and that they must maintain this land to the standard that we're looking for and that we're going to set forth when they come in. And then 3, if not, that we're able to revoke the special exemption and not let them just accumulate and go on and on over this 5-year period where it becomes an eyesore to the community. I'm hoping that my other council members will follow me with this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. The motion was made by Mr. Burgess, and the second was by Mr. Williams.
And just to add on to that, if we need a little bit of language, just so everybody's easy with the revoking of it, I asked the attorney to look up, and he could give you an example that may fit what I'm looking for.
It would say that the interim agricultural use of any property may be revoked by the City Council at any time upon notice and hearing for violation of any ordinance of the city or law of Miami-Dade County or Florida pertains to the property or for any other good and sufficient reason.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nay? Motion to the amendment carries. Now we'll vote on item. Motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item carries. What do you need? Extra. At this time, I need to open the public hearing, do I not, Richard? Open the public hearing. Anyone like to speak in opposition, or anyone like to speak in support of this particular item? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any final comments from council? Seeing none, hearing none, roll call vote.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Woolman?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes,
The
thank you,
motion
ma'am.
carries.
We'll have that language drafted and provided to the clerk.
I think you pretty much have it down there.
Pardon?
You pretty much have it down.
On the first two, we
Right.
don't have the specific language.
Okay, thank you. Tab 19, first
Yeah.
reading.
Tab 19 is the first reading of an ordinance of the City Council, City of Homestead, Florida, repealing and replacing Section 30-6 of the Code of Ordinances related to airport zoning, including requirements for land use development within designated areas in proximity of the Homestead Air Reserve Base, providing for repealer, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. This is first reading.
Let's move it forward. Motion?
Move it.
Second?
Second.
Okay, staff report?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, this ordinance was first adopted back in August of 1991. It's quite an older ordinance that we've been dealing with throughout the years. It's gone through some adjustments throughout time. The latest was began in 2007. Most recently, the application came before the Planning and Zoning Board on June 9th. We have been working with the Air Force on this matter at various levels. The proposed ordinance addresses consistency with the comprehensive plan. It provides for a military overlay zone, which you are accustomed to, we commonly call the AQs. We have incorporated mechanisms, coordination between Miami-Dade County and the Homestead Air Reserve Base. We provided for disclosure statements for properties, etc. And I'm going to go into a little bit of that because there was some discussion during the Planning and Zoning Board meeting that surrounded that very issue. And there is obviously some height restrictions, use restrictions, noise zones that are provided by these different zones that depending on location. The one staff's position is basically that we don't object to the ordinance except that we don't agree that it should apply to the Homestead Park of Commerce. As you know, we have even sold property there that over the years, and there was the sale of that property was based on previously approved plans and master plans that the city had envisioned throughout those years. In fact, the area was designated a free zone, or still designated a free zone. So there is, to leave alone to continue those standards, those development standards, the city's position, staff's position is that we exempt the Park of Commerce from these restrictions. And there was some discussion that took place pertaining to the in section 1.2 citywide general requirements as it relates to a disclosure statement that whenever you buy property, in essence, within this area, the city, originally the language indicated that the city shall have to inform the prospect buyers or the realtors or whoever was involved in the purchase to let them know of their locational constraints. I felt that it is not within our purview for the city to have that requirement because I cannot control it. I cannot control the closing table, every closing table, and therefore I'm recommending that we change, and that is the way it's being proposed to you tonight, that we change the word shall to may voluntarily make the change or provide the information, not shall. That pretty much sums it up. Though there is one more change, and it's on the table, page 4 of my memo, 4 of 2, where recreational activities, including golf courses, riding stables, water and water recreation activities, would be conditioned. It would be a use by right by condition, a condition used by right, instead of an A. Those are the proposed changes. In the interest of time, the Air Force is here tonight. They're prepared to do a presentation for you. I will like to, at this point,
Mayor,
stop and wait till they're finished to see if there is any rebuttal.
Let me get some questions from council if you have one.
Mayor.
Before we get into this, yes, yeah.
Mayor, I need to ask the city manager or the attorney through you, Mayor. What?
Because of that, in the event that this ordinance passes, without the exclusion of the Homestead Park of Commerce, we are subject to lawsuit.
Yeah, I'd just like to clarify that for the record because I don't know where you're going on this. So what I would say is this, is that we have I don't believe that the city, that there's been a determination as to whether we would have any liability. We do have some concern, which is all I would say, about taking away some property rights that they had at the time. Ultimately, that would depend upon a number of factors and would have to be litigated, but we do have some concern about covering the property. That's as far as I would go publicly.
Mayor, follow-up question.
Sure.
Then, if you would weigh your concerns from scale 1 to 5, 5 being the highest.
Do your job, Richard.
What?
Do your job.
Well, I mean, I would say that I would not be expressing concerns unless I thought they were significant. I'm sorry, but that's just that's all.
Well, I'm not going to tap dance, but
I will.
I know. But if that is a concern, then I guess I'll wait to see what my other colleagues say on the issue.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Burgess.
Thank you. Two things. Several months ago, the school was here. We added in that they had to give out a letter stating almost what we're taking out of here tonight. And they don't sit in the ACUS. They're not directly in the flight path like this is. So I'm not quite sure the reasoning behind that. Here we've got people that are in the ACUS, and we're not going to tell them about it yet. We had a school that's outside of it, and we made sure that we told them. We made sure, I think Councilman Waldman was the one that made the motion and forwarded that night to make sure that we gave each and every student or parent a piece of paper. Yes, James?
I'd like to add, with regard to the proposed change in the ordinance that the city manager is recommending, there's two provisions that deal with the disclosure statement. One is that the disclosure statement that's attached as an appendix to the ordinance be made available to everyone through the planning department. And then that disclosure statement is further carried on in the ordinance, and it says that it shall be made part of every transactional real estate deal or lease in the city and be recorded with the deed. Then in the subsection below that is a disclosure statement whereby the city has agreed to, and anytime someone comes in to the planning department through approval via a site plan, via any development process, they automatically would be required to sign a disclosure statement so that everyone's on notice that they're within this airport zoning ordinance, they're within these zones, and that those rules would be applicable and apply, and that there would not be any surprises. So I just want you to be aware of the two distinctions there with regard to every sale or lease in the city versus an applicant coming in and being placed on notice and having to sign documentation as they go through the review process.
Okay. And then I guess this is kind of a follow-up on what Councilman Williams. If these rights are not given to, or if somebody feels like their rights have been taken away from them through however we act out there, is there a process in place, Richard, for a landowner to go through to say that their rights were taken away in the courts, or that we could set up, or just trying to figure out, is there a process that people could come down here to us or wherever they would need to go and say, hey, my rights were taken away and this is A, B, C, D, E, Y? Good.
There is, and you will, we could certainly create a vested rights procedure and set out criteria and a time frame upon which someone can come in and claim a vested right and show to you that they have a vested right, and you all make the decision on that. Oftentimes, you often might see that similar language whenever we do a moratorium. We provide sort of that safety valve in the moratorium that someone is able to come in and avail themselves of a vested right. They shouldn't be subject to the moratorium. I think that's the more frequent type of language that you've seen in the past with regard to our ordinances. But yes, that ability is there for you to be able to do. We are able to create that process.
There also is a variance procedure provided in the ordinance. So if somebody wanted to use their property in a manner not consistent with this ordinance, they could come in and apply for a variance.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, bringing up the word vested right, can you define vested right? Buying a piece of property, does that automatically, and don't laugh, does that automatically give them vested right?
I'll take this one. The concept of vested rights means that you have certain rights which the government just can't take away under many circumstances. Just by buying a piece of property, you do not automatically have vested rights. The government has the ability, when you have a piece of property, to change the zoning on that property, to change the uses on that property. But it has to do with the type of actions that you've taken in reliance upon what the government has done. You know, have you zoned the property? Have you done permits? Have you started construction? But the courts are very lenient with respect to the government in terms of when we can change our mind on things. And there are certain cases where people get very, very, very much along in the process, but government can still take action. So that under certain circumstances, you know, somebody can buy a piece of property with all sorts of rights attached, and they can be taken away by the government. Having said that, I would reiterate what I said, which is I am concerned about this property. It becomes further complicated by the fact that they purchase this property from the government. In other words, it's one thing when somebody buys a piece of property privately and it comes with certain rights. It's another thing when potentially when the government sells a piece of property. But these cases are very fact specific, and all turn on the specific facts of what was done and so forth, and the timing of that.
Okay. Anything further before I open the public?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I kind of have a statement to begin with. I mean, this is a very complex issue. It's a very complex ordinance. It's fairly large in scope. You know, so my first is more of a statement to staff in that, you know, Friday afternoon I received this. That was the, you know, first time that essentially I was made aware that this was going on our agenda. To make a big decision on such a large item, I mean, that's concerning to me. I mean, if anything, we should have this by Wednesday at the latest, Wednesday at close, 5 o'clock. That leaves me 3 days to work around my schedule, to see staff, to get answers, to get questions answered. I mean, I don't really feel prepared, to be honest with you, to vote on this from a staff's perspective. You know, I haven't heard anything from you guys. So that's a concern for me going forward. That's just a statement I wanted to make off the bat. And then secondarily, to kind of figure out a way to work with this. You know, I know that the purpose of this ordinance originally, as I understood it, was to protect the Air Force Base to some extent from encroachment issues and things of that nature going forward. So to exempt the Park of Commerce, I mean, that's kind of the focal point of the ordinance when it was first thought about in my understanding. Now, I also understand that the city, the Park of Commerce, has the potential to be a good economic engine as well, to generate some jobs and employment here for this community. So there is a balancing act that needs to be had here, and I don't know that it's present in this particular ordinance as it's written, because you're essentially exempting the Park of Commerce, which means the base has no protection. At the same time, so I think there needs to be some sort of compromise. Now, you know, I've spoken to the city attorney about maybe doing some sort of a variance provision for the Park of Commerce, making this overlay district, you know, cover the entire Park of Commerce in all lands equally, and then having some sort of variance procedure. Now, I know, unfortunately, again, I got this Friday afternoon, so, you know, James has done the best he can to try to find an answer for me, but he's limited on his time. He needs time to really get in there to look at it to see, is that a possibility? So it all kind of stems back to this lack of getting the information in time to make an informed decision. So, these are things that I'm throwing out there, things that I've asked about that I'm trying to get answers to, but I just want to kind of lay the groundwork for my position going forward.
Thank you. Yes, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I don't even know where to start. James, isn't it true that we haven't had an ordinance on the books since 1991? An adopted ordinance?
Yeah, the airport zoning ordinance that this is repealing is an ordinance that was adopted in 1991, correct?
And that was before Hurricane Andrew. So everything has changed. Things are very different. First issue I'd like to address is the disclosure. I have absolutely no problem with the disclosure, with the effect that I would not agree to have it in any marketing or brochures or any advertising. But as a person that's been in the real estate field for many years, I think it would be a simple procedure just to, when people call to get their estoppel from our city of Homestead, just make it part of the closing. I don't think that's a big deal. My colleagues may disagree with me, but after all, folks, this is where the planes take off and where the planes land. This is very serious. This is a very serious portion of our community, and it can be very dangerous. And if you don't believe me, just look at some of the things on the internet with some of the other bases in the country. So, I would be willing to compromise with that disclosure because I think that would be simple. It would be just like the one with the Keysgate Charter School. You want your child to go to school there, you have to understand that it's right outside of this field. So I don't know how the base feels about that, but I'm sure when they get up, maybe they might address that. But my other concern is that isn't it true that BRAC does require, or maybe I should be asking the Air Forces, well, maybe James can answer it, that BRAC does require that there is some sort of height requirement within the ACUS? Thank you, Mayor.
I don't necessarily know if BRAC requires it, but every military installation or like the air base, every couple of years, whenever their operations change, they put out this air installation compatibility use zone study, this ACU study. One was in 2004. The most recent version was in 2007, and those are recommendations to the local government from the base.
Okay. And just so my feelings are known, I agree with Mr. Shelley. This is a lot to absorb in a very short period of time. However, it is first reading, and you have a chance to go back a second reading. Maybe we would have a chance to even do whether it a workshop or our own investigations. I know I got it on Friday afternoon, and all I had was today because everybody was closed. So it's very difficult. But I would like to hear what the military has, or the public has to say in the military. I'm very concerned about it. I'm truly concerned because it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. But as a little girl living here, as I grew up, and my father was in the military and 100% disabled veteran, and we moved here because of Homestead Air Force Base. That base is important to our economy, our community. It's important to our nation. It's important to the freedom that we have here in America. So we have to listen to both sides. We have to make a very, very, very concerted effort to appease everyone in some sort of way. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Maldonado.
Mayor, just one last echo on what happened here in reference to staff. Getting this at the last quarter is very difficult for us to go through the amount of paperwork. Nonetheless, we signed up for it, so we'll take it as it comes. But for the future, if we will definitely make it an issue the next time this would happen this way. I mean, it's very unfair for us. We are working business owners, and it takes a lot of time to go through this. I haven't had the chance to ask anyone any questions. I did remember as I was reading through all this paperwork that there was an attempt from the Holland, I forgot the rest of the name, but basically to set up some type of workshop that would let us know what's going on their behalf. I don't know, haven't heard anything from the owners or property owners of the Park of Commerce. Don't know where they stand on this issue. I understand the importance of this issue because it deals with the Air Force Base, which is a great economic factor within this community. But nonetheless, we need to be fair and being able to hear everyone's point on here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Before I open it up, any further comment? Yes, sir.
Sir, go ahead.
I, too, have had a very short amount of time, but Colonel McCullough and I had a really good conversation tonight, and I believe there's a compromise. I believe there's a compromise there that will not hurt the landowners and will definitely help the military, the Air Force Base. These wonderful people, protect us 24/7, and I believe that they have a say. One of our biggest financial supporters here in the community, the biggest economic engine this town has, and probably the second biggest the county has. So with that said, I'd like to now open the public hearing up and speak in favor or speak against. Please approach the podium.
Good evening, Colonel Mike McCulley, 42nd Fighter Wing. It's great to be here again, Mayor. Thank you for hearing us, Council. This is a complex issue, and this has been a long road with the base, the community, the landowners, and the things that we've developed over time. With the Joint Use Land Study, which started in about 2003, then through the 2004 ACUs, which is a notification to the community about what happens at the base and the protections that we want to work with the community on. Then the 2007 ACUs, and then we're at a point now where we are here to implement some of the requirements and recommendation that were in the original documents of the JLUS, which is the Military Overlay District. Why are we here? We're talking about the base and DOD, Department of Defense flying that happens at the base. It's also the number one thing we're here for is public safety. That is what the Department of Defense and the Air Force is concerned about, concerning what happens in our accident potential zones and how we fly. Our understanding is that we have families and friends that we fly over and fly in our aircraft. We're concerned about what happens in the airplanes, what happens on the ground, and with our community. We're all part of the community, and we want to protect our friends and our families. So what we're trying to do is do those kind of things through this process and do what we call smart development, urban planning, things that make sense that go into areas where we have accident potentials in our flights. Our other issue is BRAC, the Base Realignment Committee. It comes around every 6-7 years, and we've seen it over time what has happened to other military bases that have been addressed with this kind of problem. Homestead is very blessed. We're trying to do a great development both at the base. The base is growing. We've seen a huge amount of funds being put into the base here in the last few years, and the growth is going to continue. There's more people and missions coming to the base. We are the number 2 employer in the county. We're also a huge national asset to the community and to the nation, considering our location to the Caribbean and South America. As you've seen in the Haiti operations with our base, we had over 900 sorties, we moved over 6 million pounds of cargo, and we brought 3,400 Americans back through the base in this recent part of our history. But we're talking about the future. Our issues are what's happening now, but also the plans for what we have for the base and how we can continue to keep it alive and healthy, necessary to be a part of the community and part of our nation's requirements. And that's what we're concerned about. And we want to make sure that people understand our number one concern is safety and then protecting our citizens, of course. Now today I have Mr. Tyson Smith. He's with White and Smith. He's our consultant on the Military Overlay District as part of the JLUS process. He's going to come up here and give a briefing on what this is all about so we can show this in an open forum and try to explain what we're trying to do here with the council and our citizens here in the city of Homestead, in and around the base in the city of Homestead. So I'd like to introduce Mr. Tyson Smith at this time.
Good evening. I will try to be brief. I know that you have been handed a stack of paper and you're trying to get through its meaning. My My objective tonight will be to walk you through the principal parts of the ordinance, also to touch on some of the things that raised confusion at the Planning and Zoning Board a couple of weeks ago, and to clear up what the ordinance says and what it doesn't say. Madam Clerk, are y'all able to click it for me as we go? Oh, wonderful. One thing I'd point out is how similar what you're considering tonight is to what you already have. So there'll be a few places during my presentation where I'll point out where it's referenced in the current ordinance and where it's referenced in the proposed ordinance, and you'll see no or very little difference. So we'll want to point that out as we go. What am I pointing at here? Okay. Current ordinance, has been said, was adopted in 1991. There have not been any updates since then, so it has been a while. That ordinance, and this is a difference, and one of the significant ones, had 13 noise zones in it, and I'm going to talk in more detail about what a noise zone is. Had 13 noise zones that were projected based on base operations projected to 1995. So clearly that's something that needed to be changed. That's Appendix 4 in your current zone, your current ordinance in Appendix D in the new one, and I'll get to some detail there as well. The accident potential zones, in terms of where they are, have not changed. They're in the same place and affecting the same properties as your current ordinance. What's different is your current ordinance doesn't place those zones over properties, over property maps. So we've simply done that so that you can look at the ordinance and tell where you're located and whether or not you're in one of these zones. The current ordinance also doesn't include a very dangerous clear zone very near the base runway called an explosive clear zone. That was a product of the updated ACUs, and that's been added. Another significant thing that's happened since 1991, and in fact since this process began here in Homestead, were some significant changes in Florida law vis-a-vis the statutes. First in 2004, that was the same year the first ACU study that we're talking about here was done, 6 years ago, providing for required coordination. It tied military-based planning to the Growth Management Act. Now, this is something that most communities like you are already doing, but in a sense, to put it briefly, it made it official in 2004. Just this year, there were further legislative amendments. Most of these are already in place. This occurred while we were working on this ordinance, and after conversation with James, we actually did make one change here to reflect the recent change that was signed by the governor in early June and will be effective in July 1 of this year. The significant thing that change this year added was that there's sanctions in place now if you're not doing what you've already done. But what it says to me is the Florida legislature has gotten serious about this business of encroachment. Very quickly, I think it's important to understand the process that came before most of you. It started in 2003 with the Vision Council first taking up this issue. And then in 2004, the first ACU study was done. And so you understand what the ACU study does is it draws those lines. And that was done in 2004. In 2007, the City Commission, and by the way, the ACU study drew those lines also at the other end of the runway. Okay? That affects Dade County clearly, not the City of Homestead. But the ACUs is done by the base and affects both any local government affected by base flights. In 2007, the city itself commissioned the Joint Land Use Study, the JLUS. What that does, it says, okay, you've done your ACUs, these are where the lines are. What does that mean for your jurisdiction? And you all performed that. In 2007, due to changes in base operations, the ACUs had to be slightly updated. Okay. And that was done then. Just last year, you finished your EAR process and amending the mandatory updates to the comprehensive plan, and those comprehensive plan changes in 2009 incorporated the changes that are in the JLUS and in the ACUs. And by the way, it directs you to adopt this ordinance in one form or another, essentially or generally implementing those policies. So this process has gone over a 6 or 7 year period. By our count, it has involved about 17 public meetings. And then we've had 2 additional ones tonight and the P&Z a couple of weeks ago. So when the JLUS was done, the next final step in this long process is to do an ordinance, to prepare an ordinance and to adopt it so you actually implement this thing. At the time, it was agreed that HARB, the base, would prepare that ordinance, and that's what we did. And what we put into that ordinance is the way that your airport regulations are affected by the Homestead or Air Reserve base. The purpose of the proposed ordinance basically is to implement the new base operations. We also specify and add predictability to the ordinance, and I'll tell you or point out a few places where that was needed and where we touched on that. Non-conforming use is something you're going to be very interested in. The ordinance, as proposed, does not require any current structure, any legal structure, legal non-conforming as we call them, to be removed or changed because of this ordinance. It does require changes as those structures are improved or if they're destroyed. Now, this is typical of your current airport ordinance, and what we did is either consistent with it or your current zoning ordinance. So no major changes here in terms of nonconformities, what has to come into compliance. Not different than what would happen today if something came in to be changed. There's a special noise attenuation standard that applies related to the change in a roof on a building. Again, that's consistent with the current airport overlay. And we provide for a variance and appeal process. And again, that's generally consistent with what you have now, updated based on the current legislation. In addition, we've incorporated modern noise reduction standards based on recent technical studies for the military, updated the transitional and clearance surfaces, and that's going to be one of the heightened hazard zone that I talked to you about in a few minutes. I mentioned the adopted overlay maps, and then extensive coordination that was predicated by the statutes. The ordinance has 3 significant zones, and I'm sure you've heard about them. I want to try to make it simple for you. The first one is what we refer to as the military overlay zone, and it is made up of the noise zones and the land use restriction zones. And the land use restriction zones are the APZs and the clear zones. These are where accident potential is great. So you've got accident potential, and you've got noise zones and what we call the military overlay zone. This, by the way, is generally consistent with your current ordinance. It's illustrated here, and this is Appendix A in the existing, in the proposed ordinance, rather. Within this military overlay zone, there are several requirements that apply. One is the disclosure notice requirement, and the city manager went through those. It requires first that the city maintain a list of properties in the overlay so people can come and check. Then there's a disclosure requirement. It was drafted to be a mandatory requirement. Your current ordinance, by the way, requires residential properties in several of the noise zones to do a disclosure statement at the time of closing. This is not marketing material. This is just simply a requirement that, as the councilwoman put it, is in the stack of disclosures that you have to sign when you go to closing so everybody knows. The base has requested that be mandatory. The city has proposed that that be simply voluntary. The disclosure statement, I would say, is particularly significant when we talk about exclusion of the entire Park of Commerce, so that we're sure that people, before they buy and get into investments, know what to anticipate in terms of their risks. City Attorney James White pointed out that the notice will be part of any approval process. So if you're the original developer and get an approval, it will be clear in that approval that you're in this area. If you're a subsequent developer or a tenant, for example, we want to make sure that's clear as well. Coordination with the base is mentioned on this slide, and the one I want to point out here, none of this I think is very shocking, and none of it deviates significantly from what you have already in place. But under the second major bullet point, the third one down, updating the ordinance. As I've pointed out, when base operations change, those lines change. And my view of it as an attorney is that your ordinance should say and should be based on the current lines. And that if those lines change, your ordinance itself should change. So that if I'm a property owner and I come in and look at the ordinance, I'm going to see right there everything I need to know. I don't have to know there's some other study out there I need to go be double checking. So what this ordinance is based on is the current ACU study. As you've probably heard, the military expects down here that F-35 fighters may be added to the fleet at some point. That's expected. The question is when. Well, we don't know when. Today, and this changes, today the expectation is it won't be before 2016. Now, when that happens, unfortunately, Another ACUs will be done, and those lines will change. We don't know those lines today. I mean, the base doesn't know them. We don't know them. That study hasn't been done for Homestead. So when that happens, this may change. What we've done in the ordinance is we've made a provision, included a provision that says when those things happen, the city will cooperate with the base, and the base will cooperate with the city to simply adopt them into the existing ordinance. So that's something that will happen, but couldn't happen today if we wanted it to, or even if we knew where to draw the lines for the F-35. Finally, in the military overlay zone, we have some exterior lighting standards and then some density standards I want to talk to you about. Those are broken out by APZ zone, and they're important to note, as well as the Park of Commerce exemption. I've just noted here that base's position obviously was that everybody be included, and the city has proposed they be excluded. But I think, as the mayor pointed out, I think there's some areas for compromise there, and I want to mention one of those to you as we move into that section. The noise zones, here they are. It's Appendix 4 in your old ordinance. You'll see that they're much less restrictive under the proposed ordinance. In the current ordinance, the one that applies today since 91, the noise zones, there are 13 of them, and they go way out, way past the APZ2, which is that yellow bar there. So this is the less restrictive piece there. This doesn't say anything you wouldn't expect, so I won't spend a lot of time on it, except to say that what happens when someone comes in for some noise-sensitive land uses that are in those zones, and I'll back up a slide here. It's very near the base. You can see the base property in this slide. When somebody proposes certain noise-sensitive land use in those zones, sometimes there has to be a noise level reduction that's achieved through attenuation of noise through construction. And that can be demonstrated to the city in two different ways. One is they can actually test it when it goes out there. Once it's been built, you can test it. That would be for a CO or something that's clearly already been permitted. The other way to do it is how we do all other plans. You can have an engineer seal the plans that say when this is built, this will meet the noise level reduction standards. There was some confusion over that at P&Z that you had to build the building in order to tell what the noise impacts are, and that's not the case. Height and hazard zone. This is the third zone. We've had noise, we've had accident potential, now height and hazard. Height and hazard is the hardest one to tell where you are, because this one is literally what they call in the military a series of imaginary surfaces. What I will say, though, is this is generally exactly what you have in place now. This is a series of surfaces that basically increase like this from the runway. We've represented it in a general way in the Appendix C of the ordinance, but it's described specifically in the definition section of the ordinance. And it's within these areas where some land uses may be inappropriate, some may be just fine, and I'll give you some examples. The base, for example, will be made aware of development in these areas, and they will have 10 days to comment. So this is going to be a situation, for example, where there could be a potential bird strike problem. And what happens in most of these cases is not that the military recommends that the property be, or that the use be prohibited outright, but the base says there's certain mitigation that should occur. And I'll give you an example. When Florida Power and Light proposed the power plant up here, they needed some retention ponds. And this is, as you know, in Florida, not an uncommon situation with your stormwater. What the base did is not say you can't have your retention ponds. It said here's some mitigation steps you can take so we're not concerned about running into birds. As we all know, a very real issue which we saw nationally 2 years ago. What they did in these cases often is recommending steep sides on these retention ponds. So you're not sloping sides where wading birds can congregate. It's that sort of thing. There are other provisions that can be made. Moving on to the height, to the accident potential zone. These are the ones that are seen here. There are a series of zones. You've got the explosive clear zone, which is the one in the very most upper right-hand corner. And then moving from the runway, you've got the clear zone, which is the most restrictive. And then the first accident potential zone 1, APZ 1, which is restrictive, and then APZ 2, which is the least restrictive, but where there's still significant concern for accidents. This is an accident that occurred in Yuma, Arizona, a Harrier accident where there was no debris field. This is in a residential section. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I suppose, the wreck did not hit any homes, so no one on the ground was injured in this case. Here's one where that wasn't the case. There is a debris field in California where people on the ground were injured. Types of things we're trying to avoid here. This is the ideal. Debris field, but not significant development around it. So if there are going to be accidents, we're trying to avoid hurting folks on the ground, of course. And as we know, just earlier this month, a jettison of 2 fuel tanks in Biscayne Bay. Fortunately, of course, again, not in the area of anybody of any population density or obviously any development. Are these issues real? They are. This is a slide that's prepared by a consultant to the base, which overlays accidents which occurred in other places. Okay, so this slide does not show accidents that occurred here, but if you overlay those accidents in relation to Homestead's runway, this is where they would have been, and that's how we come up with the APZs. We know where these accidents statistically are most likely to occur. As I mentioned, the APZs are the same as they are in your current ordinance. The challenge is, you've got, think of it this way, the ACUS study has a land use chart in it, and it goes through each of the land uses. And then it has the noise zones, and it has the APZ zones, and it says whether these uses are recommended to be allowed in those zones. Okay? And then it says in the ACUS study, there's areas where the local government has discretion based on local needs. Our challenge is to go from that discretionary type of language to saying something you can regulate with. Here's what we allow, here's what we want. In order to effectuate that, what we've basically done is added what we've already been implementing, and that is 2 density restrictions. The first in the APZ 1, which says that no more than 25 people per acre can be allowed. And what does that help us do? It allows us to leave flexibility in determining what kind of land uses are allowed because we have this ultimate cap. So if you look at the ACUS study, it'll say low intensity uses allowed. Well, ask your planner. At least when I was a planner, I would have hated to have to implement that. Okay? So when developers come to us and say, what do you mean by low intensity? We can offer this. Now, the 25 people per acre and the 50 people per acre restrictions, by the way, come from a Navy operation standard. It is, by the way, what the base has already been implementing informally when it's asked to comment. So all this does is memorializes that procedure. This is the area, and let me go to a chart here. This is an example from the current ordinance. This is residential and how it works. In each area, we say whether the use is prohibited with an X, allow with an A, or conditionally allow with some discretion. It's an if. That's done for residential, and it's done, as you see in this slide here, for non-residential. These are the provisions that the city has proposed to exclude the Park of Commerce from. So the heightened hazard zone that I described earlier would still apply. We'd still be looking at the potential for bird strikes, et cetera there. HARB would still be commenting on uses in the Park of Commerce, but it's this density restriction and land use restriction that the Park of Commerce would be exempt from. The other point I want to make is under the, as a point of order, under the land use category, recreational activities, we had proposed since the last hearing that APZ 1 be changed from prohibited in X to C9, and that in APZ 2 allowed C9 be changed to allowed. What we're proposing is that C9 be the case in both those categories. So again, for recreational activities, they be allowed in APZ 1 and 2, conditionally subject to footnote 9. So C9 in APZ 1 and APZ 2 for recreational activities. That's slightly different than the description in city manager's memo, and that's based our fault. We just, between finalizing that memo, we wanted to go back to what it said in the first place. So with the Park of Commerce, here's our concern. You know our concern, it's safety. How do we resolve that, as the mayor said? What I can suggest to you is some of the things we talked about internally when we discussed this with your staff. One was, if the city's concern is that the Park of Commerce or some portions of it might be vested, that they have some legal recourse if the base were to regulate them in any way, then let's or could you set up a vested rights proceeding where you make that determination on a case-by-case basis? And Mr. White went through that with you. We view that as the better alternative to a flat prohibition. That language is very easy to draft. It's standard. Many communities in Florida already have it. In terms of the disclosure requirement, We would respectfully request that the mandatory disclosure continue to be required, although the base understands from a marketing standpoint that the marketing materials may very well be more appropriately voluntary. But to make that point one final time. And then finally, we were here to take questions. We're looking forward to moving forward with this. This will be our 20th public hearing in 7 years on essentially what you're looking at here ttonight. So if you have any questions, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to take them.
Yeah, I think I'd like to open with tell me how time certain this is. I don't think most of the council knows that it is time certain for the military, so that maybe we can talk about a few compromises and move forward tonight with a vote and then go to a workshop and work on it for the final reading. Is it time certain for the military?
It is. We've spent a long time on this, and again, we're not presenting something that's different than what's been discussed for the last 7 years.
Okay, what I think I'd like to do is go ahead and open up to council now. Well, actually, it's still open as a public hearing, so I'd like to hear other input if here for or against.
Good evening, Mayor Bateman, members of the council. Juan Mayolt with the law firm Holland & Knight with address at 701 Brickell Avenue. Tonight, actually filling my partner's role. Laila Batiz has been working on this issue for quite some time. Unfortunately, she was in Washington, D.C. and could not make it down in time to address it tonight. I know she has communicated in writing with council members and with staff. She's been working very closely with staff to express the concerns of our client, A&H Commerce Park LLC, the developer of the Homestead Park of Commerce. The Park of Commerce obviously is an important asset to the city. We understand that the base has had a wonderful history in the city of Homestead, and it has a bright future. We, on behalf of our client, have expressed concerns about the impact, which can be severe and adverse, on the potential development of the Park of Commerce. As your city attorney expressed to you, this is a fairly unique deal in that A&H purchased the property from the city, and in acquiring the property, acquired the development rights in exchange for $17.5 million. They have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, in the development of the Park of Commerce. They, as you may recall, they have milestones that they must meet in the agreement with the city, and any additional regulations that were not contemplated.
Could you just refer to a couple for me real quick?
Sure.
What they have done since they bought the property?
Of expenses?
Yes.
Oh, sure. For example, they have spent $650,000 in legal consulting, engineering, surveying fees. They have spent $343,750 in wetlands mitigation. They have spent $2 million in hard development costs. So that's close to $3 million on top of the $17.5 million spent on the purchase of the property. Obviously, having purchased property, as you know, the market turned south, so that development has not proceeded as fast as they had anticipated. But it is our hope, their hope, and the city's hope, I'm sure, that property will be developed in short order. And gentleman who spoke very well, very clearly, and I appreciated the presentation, and that allowed me to understand the impact. But certainly, there are 2 or 3 areas of major concern. One is the density restriction. For example, one of the districts within the park is called the Lake District, where the city wants to promote office buildings, hotels, and the like, where more than 50 people per acre may congregate. So that's an area of major concern. Some of the uses that will be restricted, for example, professional uses, scientific uses, manufacturing uses, those are the type of uses that we're trying to attract, and the ordinance would prohibit. There are other areas where we may not be so far apart. For example, on the issue of height, I'm sure we could meet I think it's 120 feet. I'm sure that would not be as much of a concern. The issue of noise attenuation, noise mitigation may not be an issue of major concern, in that this is for the most part can be taken into account during the design and construction. We're concerned, obviously, for the ability of the Park of Commerce to deal with the changes. We don't want to create any type of uncertainty in the market for potential users, uncertainty in the financing of the proposed development, and would ask the City Council to actually adopt the ordinance but incorporating the staff suggested changes to exempt the Park of Commerce from its regulations, and specifically and most importantly from the density restrictions, the use restrictions, and the I guess that those are the major concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Amanda Quirk with Levine Kellogg, offices at 201 South Biscayne, on behalf of the Alger family. Tonight, John Alger is here with me. You may be aware the Alger family is a very large property owner here in the city of Homestead. In fact, in APZ 1, they own 250 to 275 of the 340 acres. That's 80% of APZ 1. And then 150 acres in APZ 2, which is about 30% of APZ 2. We received notice of this ordinance today. We would respectfully request that at a minimum the ordinance is deferred, but I would like to speak just for a moment on some of the substantive issues. Most people are aware that the Alger family are farmers here in the city of Homestead. The property that's in the APZ 1 and APZ 2 is currently agricultural use under the comprehensive plan. That currently allows 2 uses, agricultural and residential 1 per 5 acres. The adoption of this ordinance is not going to permit any residential on that property anytime in the future. Therefore, the only thing that they will ever be able to do with that property if this ordinance is adopted is agricultural uses. The residential use on that property at 1 per 5 acres is reasonably foreseeable and non-speculative land use. It's permitted under the comprehensive plan, and although Counsel for the Air Force Base is stating that the land uses are essentially the same as the previous ordinance, he also admits that the enforcement under the ACUS has been discretionary, not regulatory, and the land uses and the maps provided in the previous ordinance are guidelines. Adoption of this ordinance is going to inordinately burden the property, and they would bear the disproportionate share of the burden of this regulation. In addition, there has been some talk about the stormwater ponds and water restriction features. We do know that with agricultural use, we have to have stormwater features on the property. You mentioned that FPL was allowed to do some ponds. Well, under this ordinance, it says no stormwater ponds. I guess in sum, we would just respectfully request at a minimum that this ordinance be deferred because, as I stated, we're the majority landowner in this APZ 1 and APZ 2. We received notice of the ordinance today, and removal of all rights other than agricultural use for the future is an inordinate burden on this piece of property. Can I answer any questions?
No, well put, Counsel.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
I just have a few comments. One is to kind of address the argument made by I guess, the owners, the representative of the owners for the Park of Commerce. I understand, I'm an advocate for commercial development. We need commercial development here in the city of Homestead, but at the same time, I have to acknowledge the fact that the military base has been here for a long time, and they have provided that economic engine for us for the duration. And as you mentioned, there is a recession going on. With the military base, I was out there the other day, they're building, they're putting product into the ground, they're hiring local contractors, all these things. So in a recession, they're kind of recession-proof. So for me, that's my problem. I've got the military that's there, that's providing this economic engine for us now, and then I've got a Park of Commerce who, unfortunately, no offense to your developers, but, time after time for the last 30 years, or who knows how long it's been, we've had developers who've come in and made promises, who've tried, not of their own problems because of market conditions, and have not brought in any kind of commercial. So for me, I'm trying to protect the one base, the one economic engine we do have. But again, based on the conversation we've had here, I think there is some sort of maybe this vested right waiver somehow that still allows the flexibility for the city to make that decision in the future when that project comes forward. Maybe you bring forth a phenomenal project, and we say that is worth the economic, maybe sacrificing something to the economic engine will allow you, to put that project up. Now, I don't know legally how to get that done. That's what we have attorneys for, and they'll hopefully figure it out for us. So I wanted to put that kind of on the record as an issue. And then it kind of brings up the issue with, if we exempt the Park of Commerce, now you have another landowner who showed up who has a lot of land as well and a big interest in this property. So we exempt it for you, and now do we need to exempt it for them? for me, it's a level playing field. We apply it to everybody. If we're going to enact this ordinance, it applies across the board. Otherwise we're picking and choosing who gets benefits from, the hole in the donut, so to speak. So, those are two big issues that I just wanted to raise. And again, the mayor did mention something about maybe moving this forward. I have no problem. This is first reading. Maybe moving this product forward, at least for me, with a caveat that, certain changes be looked at, that we have our attorneys discuss with the base and with the developers, possibly finding some middle ground here. We take it to a CAL meeting, and then we see where we stand. So I'm not opposed to that, versus just deferring it outright, because I know there is a time, this is time sensitive. So I wanted to put that out there as well, as far as that's something I'm willing to work with. Mayor, I think that's it.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Thank you. Sure.
Just
answer his.
Just very briefly, I appreciate your comments, and it's easy to not easy, but I understand your feelings about the sure thing, the base that has been an economic engine for many, many years. Again, our clients bought property, I think a couple of years ago, so they're fairly new on the scene, but they've been working really hard to make it a reality. They have contractual commitments with the city that they have to achieve, or they face penalties. So what we're asking for is you to recognize that the Park of Commerce has incredible potential to be another source of tax revenues and employment. As far as vested rights are concerned, the development approvals for this property have been in place for quite some time. The development, the approved site plan was approved under the Rockefeller group. So the plan is ready to move forward. Our objection to the vested rights process is that it creates uncertainty for potential builders, potential tenants, and potential financing sources. As far as the relationship of this property to the property owned by the Alger family, as you know from the plan, our property is situated much farther away from the base. And the last point that I wanted to make, which is actually to address the point about getting together, there may be some areas where we can find agreement with the base. There are some 2 or 3 areas where we have major concerns, but I think that we could accommodate the requirements or concerns of the base in some other areas. Thank you.
And just quick follow. I mean, you actually hit on the next thing that I meant to say and I forgot about. And that is, have you guys sat down? Have you gone and sat with the base across the table and said, this is our grand plan, and the base says, we're okay with this, this, and this, but this, and you guys work it out instead of putting the burden on us up here. You guys work out as much as you can, and then you come back to us, and it makes it much easier than us having to make a decision over one or the other, and there's liability. I mean, there's a big decision that has to be made.
Councilman Shelley, if I may, I'm at a disadvantage in that I'm stepping into the shoes of Laila Batiste, but I know she has been in communication with staff, has worked on this issue for quite some time. Both my partner Richard Paris and Laila Batiste, I believe, have met with representatives from the base. Certainly, we look forward to that opportunity again, whether you defer or take action, so that we can have that meeting prior to your next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman.
Mayor, if you don't mind, this is to take in all in another hour or so, and to me it seems impossible. What I like to look at or recommend is I think we need more options, and I kind of agree with Councilman Shelley that they need to work it out. I know, Mayor, that you want that it needs to move forward, but I think we need some more time to talk, and if we can defer it to a time certain, because I don't think it's going to get resolved tonight and be able to vote on it in an educated manner. So I'm willing to offer that with a time certain, with a workshop for all vested parties in this. And so I'm willing to make that motion to defer to a time certain of our calendar. Because I don't think, in my opinion, that we're going to come to some type of consensus tonight with this major issue.
But I don't think it hurts to move forward and then have the workshop. Then we've done what the military has asked us to do. I sat with Colonel McCulley and his staff this evening, and the last thing they said to me is, please don't defer this. Please move this forward.
So you want to move forward? That's fine.
Then
I would down
for them, because they can't afford the time to do one more leg of this. I mean, we can go to a final reading at the next council meeting, and we've got 30 days to knock this thing around and do what we need to do for the Algers and for the rest of the people who are invested. invested their, hard-earned money in that property over there. And I think Colonel McCulley, and I have had a great conversation on compromise. And he shook his head and said, I think that works, Steve. And compromise is we leave it as it reads right now, and we take it case by case. Simple as that. Just like Councilman Shelley said, what you bring today may not be acceptable. What you bring tomorrow may be acceptable. So if they're agreeable with case by case, but that's what we'll talk about in the workshop. We'll kick it all around the workshop.
Yeah, I think...
it just gives you an idea that they are agreeable. Colonel McCulley, you see, nodding his head, they're very agreeable to be, to be amenable and work with this thing and leave the language the way it is, as long as we allow our military base to have some input when something's built out there.
Okay.
Doesn't mean if they say they don't like it, doesn't mean we can't vote it down. We vote with our conscience at that time.
Right.
We vote with our convictions at that time. So I think if we go to a workshop, I think we'll do a great job. Every one of us have a little input put in it, and I think we'll come out with something that makes everybody happy. So with that said, I'd ask you to withdraw that motion, and let's move forward with this and vote this through now tonight, and go to a workshop within the next week.
Okay, I will do that with this in mind that we get a time certain on the workshop.
Okay, you're welcome to quote
so
that. Yes,
that we get a time certain tonight for the workshop,
Sure.
so that the public has ample time when this plays tomorrow of when the time will be. And I think that is in the best interest of all of us as a community, as the Colonel has mentioned. And if we do that, then we give ourselves ample time. But I will withdraw that only with we can find a time certain at this moment to designate that with all of our calendars.
Okay, well, let's do that now. Let's find that time certain date.
I think it's also important that we go back and ask Ms. Quirk, I believe it is. Obviously, they were just found out about this today, and with the percentage of lands that they own out there, I think we make sure that we give them adequate time to get with both parties over there.
Sure, really, we have 30 days, so we probably ought to do it within next 7 to 10 days, and we advertise it. We advertise it here tonight, and they're welcome to be part of the open public hearing. Yes,
Sir, we have a COW meeting coming up in how many weeks?
On the 13th of July.
Right.
So we could probably have it before maybe the COW or after the. How has the COW agenda? Is it a big agenda? Can we add it to that agenda, knowing it's going to take a lot of time?
Right now, it doesn't look too big, but it does have the tendency to grow over the last week.
Let's keep it down.
Yeah, because this will probably be an issue that gets again argued for a while. So we want to make sure we have ample time and we don't cut anybody short.
Actually, we probably ought to put a time certain. We say it's going to be this date, and we're going to allow an hour for it.
Very well.
Otherwise, we'll be here like we are tonight, 9 o'clock at night. All right, the date is going to be COW meeting. We're going to put it in
July 13th.
July 13th. Here, we'll put it on up front of the agenda.
Typically 5:30.
Mr. Mayor, I guess I would like, I don't know if the motion has officially been made, but I would make the motion.
Yeah, Mr. Williams, you want to make the motion, Mr. Williams, since you withdrew your first one?
Yeah, well, I'll make a motion that we have this this workshop July 13th, and what time is convenient for the public? At 5 o'clock?
Normal COW meeting is
5:30.
5:30.
So
It could be either 5 o'clock or 5:30.
I'd say 5:30, give people more time.
So 5:30, I move it.
You think 6?
No, if I'm fine.
5:30, people get off work, come here. It's fine.
And then 6:30 the count?
Okay. It'll be part of the count.
Okay.
It'll be part of the agenda. Okay.
I'll second the motion.
By Mr.
I'll
Williams?
second it.
Second by Mr. Maldonado.
Well, then I make a motion to amend that motion.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, my motion to amend that motion would be this. Essentially, if we move this thing forward tonight, because that wasn't addressed in that motion, we move it forward tonight, but with the caveat that we look into ways to find maybe a middle ground, because I don't want to approve this as is.
Sure.
I want to approve it knowing and stating that we are going to work on this, to whatever methodology it ends up taking.
I'm hearing that loud and clear.
But there's a compromise that is worked on between all parties.
I hear you.
Then we go to the COW for the date certain that Mr. Williams has stated, and then we see where it goes.
That's why we're going to move forward and vote on it now, because we can be here till 10, and then I'll still hear you. Everybody can still be heard, but we need to move. Look, I'm hearing loud and clear what everybody wants. They want a workshop. They want their input. They want more time. They want you to have more time. We want you to have more time, so let's let's move forward on this.
Yeah, actually, I'm just responding to what Councilman Shelley said, is that since we're voting, it's a first reading of an ordinance, all you can do is vote it up or down.
Mhm.
But I think you could have a motion afterwards, or do it beforehand, so you know it's there, which is, to set the workshop and that for the parties to work together, so you would have that comfort.
Well,
when
that's
you
all I
vote.
wanted to do now is vote to set the workshop and then go on with, I guess, it's still an open public hearing. I
Okay,
haven't
so you
closed
want
it
to
yet.
vote to set the workshop and then
I
move
think
on?
it gets the consensus, what we're looking for here.
I'll defer my motion until later.
Okay, good.
Till after the public hearing.
Mr. Williams.
So do I need to defer, do I need to withdraw my motion again?
No, you make your motion.
All right, well, that's my motion as it stands.
Second by Mr. Maldonado, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, motion carries. Public hearing still open? Yes, sir. Approach the podium, name and address for the record.
Hi, my name's Walter Dawson, 29510 Southwest 180th Avenue. I have property in the affected zones and stuff, and all us property owners and farmers out there haven't gotten any notice other than our word of mouth, no zoning hearing things. We have no copies of any maps. Last week at the meeting I came, it was the only, I saw a line drawn right through the center of my property, so there's some kind of change that's going to affect the value of my property. And as farmers, the only thing we have is the values of our property to support our lives and our work. And we don't grow and invest in this property for 30 years to have something come and take away our property rights and devaluate everything we've got. The banks, the businesses, that's our capital, that's our investments, everything. I don't like to say sentiment here means that you can build it, but not in my backyard. I want everybody to think hard about this because this is in my front yard and in my pocketbook. Me, my family, we're lifelong residents of Homestead. We've been here forever. Last week I told you I even built the city hall. I poured all the concrete, did the paneling, the whole building.
And you helped us plant our trees.
Yeah, we planted a bunch of trees.
Yes, you did.
But, my wife, family, we give back to the city. We're involved in the Corey League, the rodeo, the posse, high school, the whole 9 yards. There's a lot of APZs and ACUs and JLUs and everything, but nobody actually has a map. And even a map that you can read that has a street number on it that you can read without trying to get a magnifying glass, All this would help us make a decision. I know the Air Force Base needs what they got, but I also know that when the water got contaminated on the base where they couldn't drink it, they had to buy a corridor of property a mile long and buy the property and put in a new drinking water well and pump all the water back to the base. And everybody had to be compensated for the property that they used to run these water lines and stuff. We don't have any statistics or studies on these F-35s or these new zones or anything. We need more information on this, and we need to, get into it and, more. I mean, this is my whole life is my piece of property that I've got paid for, and now they got a big line drawn through the middle of it, and you're talking 25 or 50 people per acre. Heck, when I have a birthday party for my mother, I have almost 200 people at my house, and I have to invite all the neighbors so we have room to park the cars down the street.
God bless you.
A normal birthday party is 50 to 75 people. So, like I said, we have a lot of family here in Homestead. We've been here for 40 years, and we need to investigate this further. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor Bateman, commission leaders and commissioners and concerned citizens. My name is Donald Northcutt. I live at 140-41 Southwest 320th Street, East Mallory Drive. As a concerned citizen and landowner in the area that's in part of this study, I sat in on all but one of the joint land use studies and participated heavily. I asked last meeting Colonel McCullough if there were any changes to the joint land use study. And he said no, as applied to the ordinance. In hindsight, what I should have asked him, was there any changes, and did they include all of the joint land use study? Here's the contention. It's what was left out of a joint land use study that we have contention with here today. I'm going to get this 4 or 5 points I'm going to bring up to you. It's clear without reservation that the needs of the Air Force to extend the air potential zones, accident potential zones, is necessary. In doing so, it's clear that the values of the property owners are hurt. There's no question about it. They will lose a lot. How the joint land use study had a dilemma. How do we take care of the Air Force? How do we pay these landowners? They came up with a system called the transferable development rights. In other words, make it short and sweet, they set down a certain amount of points per acre. And they say per acre, I think it was 3.5 points or something like that per acre, that you would have development rights of anybody who owned land in those areas of those air accident potential zones that were extended over the top of them. Now, you could still own that land, farm it for agriculture, do whatever was allowed in those zones, and sell those development rights for the difference that you would lose. That was left out and should not be left out. In this great country, we do not take people's rights away from them without paying for it. That was one of the main contentions. The next was the F-35 aircraft. The F-35 aircraft, as the way I understand it, is going to be the workhorse or the basis of all the military branches. It may be modified for the Air Force for a certain way or modified for the Navy a certain way, but it's going to be here, and it will be, it's not so much as a period of if, it's a period of when. So the noise problem by the F-35 is what needs to be addressed here today, not overlooked. We need to put the Air Force on notice. They can build stealth aircraft. They can reduce the noise on this aircraft because it's coming here. It will be here in a matter of time. And they can do this while it's under development. We need to put them on notice today.
Excuse me, Mr. Northcutt.
Next point of contention. There's a flip side to every coin.
Mr. Northcutt.
The City of Homestead wants the Park of Commerce to be exempted. Gentlemen, let's just say hypothetically that you got a business in the city of, in a Park of Commerce, and it gets very good at what it does. And all of a sudden, you got 20 or 25 employees going around that place. Lord forbid we have that accident. Will you want it on your conscience that 25 or 30 people got killed? I don't think so. You need to take another look at the regulations involving the air potential, accident potential zones as related to the Park of Commerce. Now, I know the Park of Commerce was developed quite some time ago and it cost the city a bundle of money. But you still need to look at these issues and use some common sense about the application of the zoning laws that go with it. Now, you're not going to like that, but that's something that should be done. I know you don't want it on your conscience if you exempt yourself and a bunch of people, Lord forbid, get killed in an accident. You don't want to have look back and say, Mayor Bateman, you're and your commissioners, let this get by you. I know you don't want that. Okay, sir. About the loss of property values, the only other thing I can think of is that the First National Bank President Lossner had brought this before the Joint Land Use Committee, and his recommendations were that if a person's rights have been reduced, he shouldn't have to go before a city commission. You're not going to like this. He shouldn't have to go on a city commission in order to get his rights restored. So he wanted these transfer development rights put into the ordinance by right of law, not going before a commission and having to fight for them again.
I hear you.
You need to include that.
Okay. Please come to the workshop. Thank you.
And for the considerations.
Remember the 13th, 5:30.
Mayor Bateman, Vice Mayor, City Manager, Councilman. I'm Dennis Daly. I live at 1304 Capri Street in Coral Gables. I own property in Homestead. My mother lives here, and I've spent a long time at the base. I worked there in Colonel McCulley's position from 2002 to 2007. Held hostage for many of the public hearings, as well as 2 ACUs and a joint land use study.
Gave the mayor a ride in an F-16.
Gave the mayor a ride in an F-16, which was a very good time. Several things are very clear, and I want to see the ordinance passed as soon as possible. It's a good deal for everybody in this room, no doubt about it. That buffer that's established by APZ 1 and 2, that corridor you establish when you codify that, gives you an eternal buffer for not just the Speedway and the base, but for the Everglades, or for Biscayne National Park, Biscayne Bay Coastal Wetlands. The environmental groups would support it. It's a great deal for everybody. Homestead Air Reserve Base, second largest employer in South Dade County. And then the Park of Commerce holds 2 million square feet that's sited and ready to build as soon as the economy turns around and tenants are found there. But 2 million square feet is no joke. It's platted, sited. There's 2 developments there, Park South being one of them, Conrail being the other that are ready to go. It also encompasses the free trade zone as well as the NWD, which is the proprietor for the free trade zone. So it's an economic engine also if it's given the chance to build. What I'd like to bring up is simply some common ground to kick off with for your workshop on the 13th. And I'd like to help solve this. I'd like to help bridge some common ground tonight so there can be action items potentially in the workshop. First of all, on page 19, paragraph C, D, and E, where they talk about a restriction on people per acre. This was never part of the ACU's study. As Mr. Tyson alluded to before, this was added from a Navy publication to add 50 and 25 people per acre restrictions. If we simply deleted that reference, simply deleted that restriction and went back to the old ACU's ordinance or guidelines the way it was now in an ordinance, you go back to just what you described earlier. You have a situation where the city and the military can jointly decide what's light industrial. Yeah. Is this good or bad for us? Height restrictions are clearly dealt out, but just that one small change, which was never in the previous ACUs or included in the joint land use study, that just makes everything a lot simpler. It relieves the algers to some degree. They go back to the original ACU's guidelines the way they have been for years. And it's a status quo situation. And it's a way to move on over that subject very quickly. It gives the base still the same protection they had in the 2007 ACUs. I feel that would be an objection at this point and something that would be a major point to solve in the workshop. An area for just simple rewording is the information on disclosure. The city manager addressed disclosure at closing, fine, but delete the part where they ask for disclosure in marketing and informational material. Allow the economic engine to compete on its own merit in advertising, at least.
Good point.
In in page 15, item 4B, where they talk about stormwater retention ponds, simply clarify the wording in there so that we turn it from we reaffirm in the positive, where instead of saying this in a certain way, we want to say it to where we tell exactly what is allowed for stormwater retention ponds and just clarify that so that it's not up to the base or some arbitrary decision on what's a correct retention pod for bird migratory patterns and so on. So in other words, tell us what's approved and tell us up front so developers can know what's approved and what's allowable up front. In other words, just clarify the wording. That's a simple process, I believe. Regarding the noise boundary areas and the noise level reduction, I'd really like to see the roundtable simply work through a problem with those and see how that actually applies to the homes, maybe in the Waterstone area, just across Speedway Boulevard. So that if we had something that triggered one of the thresholds for rebuilding, how would this apply? How would we go through the process? Because the Navy noise study, the Wiley study, is okay, but if you read it and if you took it and the city had to enforce it right now and a builder had to use it, it'd be very difficult to figure out without a set process in place. So either improve it or establish a separate process, but just clarify it. You know, again, very simple, small change. The F-35 impact, I would ask this to be discussed at the round table, only because there's lawsuits in other cities over F-35 noise in adjacent communities. What we want to do, I believe, in my heart, is to take this to the round table decision and look at if we embrace this noise ordinance or the noise portions of this ordinance the way they are now, and then this grows and we have to vote on it in the future, are we creating a hurdle for ourselves we may not want to embrace or engage? So I would simply ask for viable discussion on that. And the one part I would bring out in there is that how does this impact the Homestead Housing Authority's migrant housing area? Because they will be inside, I believe, or very close to being inside the 65 dB noise line.
Well, I'm hoping that hurdle 2 is, Dennis, that we relocate it.
That would be awesome.
I'm working hard on it now.
And that would solve many problems, to include one of the only areas of encroachment existing right now for Homestead Air Reserve Base. Owner notifications during the JLU study, we invited each owner. The base invited each owner. The city invited each owner to participate in that. I would just encourage them again to send out notification of the meeting on the 13th, invite each landowner and their representatives in, and just make sure everybody has due notification. And I think that a lot of things we heard tonight would have been solved early on. And the only other thing I wanted to throw out regarding the provisions in the proposed ordinance about 50 people per acre would be, how does this affect the charter school situation? Because just inside the ACU's boundary are the practice fields, I believe, or several practice fields that the school wants to use.
Play on.
And right now you can't have, as it reads now, you can't have two soccer teams on a field because you'd have more than 50 people per acre. So I think that we also want to watch that out of the corner of our eye, because we all know how important that school situation is for the city and the community. And I hope there's common ground there that everybody can work on and look at. So that's a little bit of a tenuous situation. Everybody's looked at that before. But this would also affect that situation.
Yeah, but the actual area that we have for the Charter School USA now is outside the AQC, even the playgrounds. But you bring a very good point up. The rest of that should be usable playground area or baseball turf or soccer turf or whatever we need to do for the future expansion of those schools.
Exactly. And again, if you go back to the old ACU's guidelines, and embrace those, codify those, you have the ability to decide what you want to do or what you want to do.
Again, we got to compromise. We got to workshop. I think it's going to work. Please, can you make it?
I'll be out of town that day. That's unfortunate. I'm sure they're happy about that. But overall,
listen, I want your notes before you leave tonight. All right.
I really want to see the ordinance pass. I want to see that zone codified. That's been in the works for a long time. These guys have done a great job making it work, and you guys have too. It's a great council to embrace this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dennis. Wow. Further discussion from the public.
Good evening. My name's Adam Bass. I live at 1262 South Field Lark Lane in the Villages, and my office is over on 15th Street. I just wanted to echo a couple of things that were already said, but we recently completed the new FBI building over in the Park of Commerce. We're trying to do a first-class job of bringing high-quality businesses to the new economic engine that's supposed to be creating jobs and taxes over there. And if you limit density to 25 to 50 people per acre, that's effectively going to kill it. So I respect the air base. I've lived here all my life, since 1975. But there has to be a common ground where you cannot take away people's land that they've worked their lives for. That's their only, equity. And you should not destroy the economic engine that the city's trying to promote, because we bought that land in good faith from the city. And we have been developing it in good faith and trying to develop it in a first-class manner. We speak to many potential tenants. So it's very important to consider that before we jump the gun.
Okay. Please, on the 13th, please try
Yeah,
to make
actually,
it.
unfortunately, I'm going to be out of town, but I heard a lot of competent people speak tonight.
Thank you.
This guy dresses a lot better than I do, so he'll speak for me, I guess.
All right, Adam, thank you. All right, any further discussion from the public before I close the public hearing? All right, seeing none, hearing none, public hearing is officially closed. Council, any further discussion?
No, I just moved the item, Mayor.
Okay, any further discussion on this item? Yes, Mr.
One more.
Maldonado.
Any other
Go ahead.
landowners that we might have left out that didn't get notice, could we make sure that they're made aware of this workshop that we're about to have? I know you guys are still spreading, landowners are still spreading the word around, but if we should do it officially so that we've covered our end?
We will, sir. We advertise in accordance, based on the statutory requirements that we have, but we'll go the extra mile and make sure that the rest of them are notified.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
It's come to my attention that Mr. Smith, I believe it's Tyson Smith, from the Air Base here, is not going to be able to make the 13th. He's got another appointment with the government or something that day.
I was going to share a thought, if I may, Mr. Mayor. I'm now the third person that has a conflict on that day. Would the board be amenable to doing the time certain to say it must be done in 30 days? Let's make sure that all the key people are available. It's entirely up to you. I understand your urgency with moving this tonight based on the fact that we are going to have a workshop. I don't want to have a workshop where the key people aren't there and we show up and people say, I wasn't able to make it. You see my point? See that developing here.
You're welcome.
Have we voted on Mr. Williams?
We voted on that.
The motion's done. We can definitely amend the motion to correct the date. I think we probably ought to allow the big parties to, you get together and figure out what's the perfect date, and within the next 48 hours, we correct. We can leave the motion the way it is and correct the date, can we not?
But right now, you have a motion that's been passed that sets it for the 13th. I think you should have a motion to rescind that and leave it with the manager and the clerk to schedule something that's good for the parties.
In the next 48 hours.
Within the next 48 hours.
I'll make that motion.
Second it.
Thank you. The motion's been properly made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 48 hours. We get time certain. Boom. Okay, here we're going to close this public hearing up. And at this time, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Waldman?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay. Tab 20.
An ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances by amending Chapter 16, Local Business Taxes and Business Regulations, Article 2, Local Business Tax Receipts, Section 1639, Local Business Tax Receipt Inspection Fee, to amend and clarify the amount of inspection fees and the applicable timeframes for re-inspecting, providing for severability, inclusion of the code, conflicts, and an effective date.
Motion to move.
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Staff report.
Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, members of the City Council, the only issue that I wanted to bring up is that, as you know, we're currently charged $30 for reinspection fees. Pursuant to Councilman Williams, he requested additional information as to what the standard would be to apply to each one of those. Each time that an applicant, a new business comes in line, what would be the fee? And at this time, I'm ready to report that the fee, that there is a fire department fee that ranges between $25 and $150, depending on the square footage of the tenant space or business. And there's on our side, there's 4 inspectors involved. The maximum that it could cost is $260. We do those inspections pretty much every 3 years. So in reality, what you're looking at is at $86.60 per year for those costs.
Mr. Williams, you have a question? Councilman Williams?
No, not at this time.
Okay, sir.
You say that last part again, Mr. Manager, to the mayor?
$86 and...
We would charge, if you prorate the amount, the $260 that we will have to pay, if that was the total amount, it would not exceed $86.60. per application, inspection.
So your recommendation is?
To approve as proposed.
As outlined. Thank you, sir. Questions from council? Hearing none, I'll open the public hearing. Questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any final questions from council? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Warman?
Yes.
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 21.
Next item is an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending Chapter 2 Dangerous Intersection Safety of Chapter 18 Motor Vehicles and Traffic of the City of Homestead Code of Ordinance, providing for recorded image monitoring and enforcement of red light traffic control signals consistent with general laws provided by Chapter 2010-80 Laws of Florida, providing for severability, inclusion of the code for savings, ratification, reservation of rights, for an effective date 2000.
Motion.
July 1st,
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Second.
Second.
Thank you. Staff report.
Yes, sir. The real intent of this ordinance, as you know, based on recent legislation from the state pertaining to the red light camera, the fine structure that we have will change from the $250 to $158, of which, and it breaks down the following way: the $158 that you pay in fine, $75 goes to the city, $70 goes to the state, and $13 goes to the Health Trust and Brain and Spinal Injury Trust Fund. That's the breakdown, and that's pursuant to state to legislature now.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor.
Yes, questions, council?
Yes. This when I did the numbers, I was trying to figure out would this still be economic feasible for the city, and it is, Mayor. That we still can, even with the cost that's associated with it, that we're able to still continue. And hopefully we can put the rest of them out, because I think it has already made the city about $500,000 plus just in this short time with those few cameras that we have up now.
That is correct, sir. We anticipated revenues in the 100,000 range. We're far exceeding those revenues at that level, or close to 500,000.
So I just want to make it known that the most important thing is that it saves the lives of our citizens.
Yeah. Yes.
Correct.
We had 5 times more than we thought.
Can't put a price on that.
Okay, any further questions from council? At this time, I'll open the public hearing. If I'd like to speak, please come forward. Hearing none, seeing none. Close the public hearing. Any final questions from council? Hearing none. I'll close the public hearing again. Any final comments or roll call vote?
Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley? Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Warman?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. 22, sir.
An ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, amending City of Homestead Code of Ordinance by amending Section 23.5-6 trash, yard, and garden waste, non-combustible refuse, white goods, and non-polluting industrial waste disposal of Chapter 23.5 solid waste, providing for semi-monthly bulk trash collection, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for severability and an effective date.
Motion.
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you. Second. Thank you. Staff report.
Yes, sir. This is very simple. What it does is it changes the code to reflect the current bi-weekly pickup that we do. It's as simple as that.
Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Williams.
If we can, through you, Mayor, to staff, is that when we pass this or enact this, what kind of notification will go out as far as, because I know in my area, wherever they throw trash is the bulk pickup, wherever it, and I think we need to kind of revisit this issue. So when we make this change, what will be our strategy in letting the residents know of a time certain or date and time that they can place their trash out to be picked up?
Yes, sir. My understanding is we have been advertising on our website and through the various media that we have available. We also have stickers that we place on properties. In addition to that, you want to address?
Well, what you're talking about is the recycling program. This is for the bulky pickup. What we've done in the past is we put together some information pamphlets regarding the rules and sort of like a guide on bulky pickup, procedures for that very purpose, to educate the people basically, so that they know that they're not supposed to put it out until the day before, and the locations where they're supposed to be placed, and what kind of materials they can put for bulky pickup. So we can do that again. We can do another round of basically an educational
video series that we've been working on to inform people through our channel 77. Put it on the loop and advise them how to address the.
Okay, can I rephrase my question then?
Because I didn't get an answer.
Okay.
Well, Channel 77 doesn't work in Kingsgate.
That's right.
What time now do we pick up the bulk trash? What date and time through routes?
Well, for bulky pickup, we will send out the new schedule. Yes, we will do that. Yes.
Right.
That's
what is the
you're talking
schedule
about.
today?
Today, it depends on what area of the city you live. There's different days designated for pickup, for bulky pickup for that particular area.
So, like we did with the recycling,
Correct. It will be similar to that. Yes.
You're going to send out to through their bill because everybody doesn't get Channel 77.
We'll do through the bill.
I think
we'll do
it's
it through the bill.
feasible. I think we need to because it's a big problem to alert the public exactly when this change will take place, and I don't know how inconvenient it will be, but I think it needs to be placed in their bill, so when everybody opens their bill, they know exactly when.
We can do that.
Mayor.
So, yes, let me ask you. So when we pass this tonight, we will immediately go to twice a month, and you're going to immediately notify each zone. Because I have my neighbors ask me every day. And I have to tell you, I've personally asked the manager, and I was told it was happening June, done, no more. Happens twice a month only. Well, that didn't happen. My neighbor said, well, you're still picking up. So I'm not informed. When did it happen?
Yeah, for the bulky pickup, what we want to do is, I guess we're trying not to make too many changes at the same time for the benefit of the residents, so that they don't. So they have sort of like a learning curve in terms of we're doing the recycling first, and as soon as we finish that, we're going to then jump on the changes for the bulky schedule. Also going to the bi-weekly.
I thought per the budget that was set by the former council, it was scheduled for June, drop dead date, stop. The money you're going to try to save was supposed to happen in June.
Well, you're right. That was the target date, but we can handle going an extra month, and basically just making sure that we're trying to minimize the learning pains, that the residents will see by making too many changes at the same time.
Well, I hear you, and you always got the answers for us, and I appreciate it, Julio. But I want to tell you, we're not informed. I've been told since the day I got elected in November that come June, drop dead date, we were no longer picking up every single week, and we're still picking up every single week. So somewhere the budget's going to be affected. And I'm not here to give you a hard time. I don't get it. We're all on the same team here. So how does it happen like this?
That's my fault, sir. I will provide you with, within a week, you have a schedule of when the pickup is going to be occurring.
But what I worry about is the money that was budgeted to be saved by only twice a month. And I say, okay, it's a little bit here. It's just going to be a little bit we lose here, and a little bit we lose, and a little bit here. It's all going to add up.
Yes, sir.
So we need to.
That was the plan.
We need to stick to our guns. What was planned by the.
And there are savings in going to.
Oh, sure, there's savings, but if they're supposed to be implemented in June, then they're implemented in June. That's how I feel about it, and that's what Mr. Williams was asking, because we don't know what to even tell our neighbors.
We will provide you that information within a week's time.
Mayor.
Within a week's time. Thank you. Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. President had his finger raised.
The advertisement has been horrible, to put it plain English. Channel 77 doesn't even show in the majority of my neighborhoods over there where I represent. So, and to say that that's where we're going to show it and put the plan on is unacceptable to me. And I know that some people may not know if they live down here that Comcast doesn't provide over there, but they don't. To put it in a bill now is too late, because that's going to be possibly a month before somebody sees it, yet they're going to be piling their stuff up. I think we need to buy advertisement in the local newspapers, be the neighbors or whatever it is, the news leader, and get it out there and have an easy-to-read graph. Color, red, you're going to get it this Monday and the third Monday. Yellow, Tuesdays, whatever. None of this from street here to there to here to there. Just draw a picture for people that they can read. And I see it. I mean, everybody in my neighborhood now wants to know, where the heck did my recycle bin go? And nobody knows when they're going to get another one, when it's going to be picked up or anything. So this is just adding on to that problem that we've already gotten. I mean, Waste Management came through last week and took everything. And we've got no idea from the city, and I don't, and I even call and ask, when's it going to be there? Well, when they get there. I don't know what kind of answer that is, but that's unacceptable.
I agree. I know you're next, but I agree. You got to stop, Mr. Manager. You need to put some help on and get those cans out like we promised. And if we're stopping in June, now it's July, or now maybe it's even August, let's get it done.
Correct.
If you got to take the QRT team and whatever, which I already offered, and you said you didn't need it, it was all going to happen in a timely manner. Well, obviously it's not happening in a timely manner, because now Eastlake doesn't have any bins.
Northgate doesn't.
But they don't have the containers either. And I know that Eastlake is almost the last one to get them, because you and I went through the zones. And the last zone is the east side of the highway. Northwest, southwest, then it comes over to the east side. So if they took their cans, they're not going to have anything for a month unless you step up the manpower.
You will have that information. You will know exactly when your area is going to be picked up.
Hire subcontractors to get it out. Let's get them out.
Actually, if I could add a little more light into this,
Please.
we're waiting on the next shipment of the cans to come. That's why as soon as we get them, we're putting them out into the street. But the manufacturing of the cans, has backlogged a little bit. So we're expecting within the next 2 weeks to get the next shipment, and that's when we'll do the next round of disbursement. But in the meantime, all the cans that we've had, we've already put them all out. So that is something that we're dealing with now.
But that doesn't stop us from providing that information so that they know exactly when it's going to happen,
You're absolutely right.
It's going to happen, and how.
You're absolutely right.
That's horrible coordination with Waste Management or whoever. We should have asked them if we could have used their bins for a couple of weeks. Now you've got people that are going to be a month without the ability to recycle, that call me constantly and want to know when they're getting it and why can't we do it, and want to know why can't the city coordinate that project. And I say,
However, Jerry, I was going to report on this later. The time is getting of the essence here, but let's just make sure we put it in our customer service bills for the next 3 or 4 months, just so people know, just some sort of little blurb, just so, we keep people informed. Again, the city website, my mother doesn't have a computer, so many people don't, but it's just going to have to be word of mouth. And if it means, like you say, putting the extra people on to make it happen, I think we do need to keep people informed, because no one knows when to put their bulk out right now. I get them too. I get the calls too. So, but together, I think we can make it happen.
And if it's going to take to August because we've dropped the ball or whatever, then let's just make sure it's in stone and we know it's August, all right? I mean, if it's going to take a month to advertise July,
right. I think it's gonna
and then let's just get on it, stay steady on it, and we get the message out loud and clear over 30 days if we can. If you're handling that department of it, that part of it. I don't mean to look at you, but I really don't know who's handling that. I know you're handling recycling. I don't know who handles the bulk trash. So that department head's not here. So Thank you very much for taking the heat tonight. Yes, Mr. Williams?
Mayor, if I might add a little insight. Solid waste is being enterprise is one of my areas, and I spend quite some time over there. And I know with the contract, and I think back in May, the city pays like $48,000 to waste management, and with the bins being backed up, and correct me if I'm wrong, the bins being backed up, in our coordination effort, they took the bins when they came by the last time, and our effort in trying to get them out at the same time did not quite go together. Now, there's some bins in the southwest area that are on properties that are not even vacant. So I have bins in my area you can come get. I can point you to the houses so you can take them to the east side of the highway. But with that, and I think another issue is, and we've touched on it, is that in waste management, when you've got two guys out at the same time, it creates havoc. Because when you're on a routine schedule and you've got one guy call out or one guy's off or person off, then it throws the whole day off for the whole process. So maybe we need to relook at that, because the solid waste is self-sufficient. It grossed over $1.9 million last year, so it is self-sufficient. That is not coming from our ad valorem tax base. So we may need to look at increasing until we can, Mayor, as you mentioned, provide some temporary services that we can get this together. And
cross-training, something.
Yeah, it's self-sufficient, so it's not costing, wouldn't cost us much to do that. And then I think with the scheduling problem, I think that would probably help too if we add some personnel, because let me tell you, I've been over there today and they had 4 people out, and I got a call when I was riding around trying to do potholes today that the guy said they came down my street and didn't come back, and so they were double backing trying to cover all the routes today. So it's scheduling over there is a problem when you got one guy out. It really creates a lot of havoc. So I know, because I spend a lot of time over there, so I can hopefully add that little insight to it.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Yes, Mr. Schilling.
Since we're just talking about this issue for a while.
Do you have cans?
I don't know where my recycling comes either. My wife's had it out there for a week and a half now because she doesn't know when it comes, and I can't give her an answer. Anyways, my other question relates to the bulk trash pickup, and that is in the Northwest neighborhood, when they come and pick up the trash, it creates these giant potholes. They dig out the dirt, they dig out the ground, and put these giant holes up and down our streets. Is anything being done or looked at to address that issue? I know a couple of years back they came and filled them all in. So it's just something I want to raise because we're talking about this issue, and put you on notice that in the Northwest specifically, there's a lot of deep holes where they pick up the trash from.
And the Southwest.
Ditto.
Well, that's the actual part of the job of the QRT team, is to correct a number of deficiencies along the public right-of-way.
Well, we have like 3-foot holes in the Northwest, so I mean it's been a long time since they. I mean, they're deep holes. They're not just a little indentation.
We'll be running those streets to make sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Hearing no further questions from council. No, I've got to open the public hearing. Let me open the public hearing. And if there's anyone here tonight that'd like to speak on the trash issue, please come forward. Hearing none, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Final comments from council. Hearing none, seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilman Maldonado.
Yes.
Councilman Shelley.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Waldman.
Yes.
Councilman Burgess.
Yes.
Mayor Bateman.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 23.
Yeah, these are 2 motions dealing
Together.
with the neighborhood stabilization program.
So we'll take them together, right?
I would recommend that we do.
Okay, motion to move them?
Move it.
Second?
That's tab 22 and tab 23.
Okay, 23 and 24, isn't it?
Excuse me, 23 and 24.
That's all right, I'll keep you in line with you.
Yes, sir. This pertains to the neighborhood stabilization program. This is the first part. The second part has to do with the management of that program, and that's we bidded it out, and we're recommending that Galata will be the manager. The first part deals with some transferring of some funds. The program contains four activities: the rental and rehabilitation, down payment assistance, purchase, rehabilitation, demolition, and demolition. What we're doing, in essence, is we're shifting monies to those areas, those activities where we have been most successful because we have a deadline by which we need to use those funds, and therefore we have been more successful in those areas, so we would like to propose to make those transfers. Specifically, we're moving, if you look at the information provided, we're increasing rental rehab. We have decreased down payment assistance. We have increased, we use that, the down payment assistance, and broke it down into two. We gave some money to the rental rehab and some money to the purchase and rehabilitation. You see the numbers? That's in essence what we're doing, because we, again, have been a lot more successful in those. That is in essence what we're doing. Correct? I'm recommending that we move forward with these changes.
Okay, are we going to meet the deadlines on that? Are we doing well? We're still online?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And this is an essential to meet that deadline.
Okay. Okay, council, questions from council? Hearing none, seeing none, open the public hearing. Any questions from the public? Hearing none, seeing none, close the public hearing. Final questions from council? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Vice Mayor Waldman? Councilman Burgess?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
Yes.
Councilman Williams?
Yes.
Mayor Bateman?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, item 8, resolution. Amendment. This was the added item at the very beginning.
We took care of it.
Okay. I didn't think we did anything. We went right by it, but
No, we did. We added it and we voted on it.
oh, okay. Thank you for keeping me in line there. Okay, Mr. Manager.
Sir, only one item, and in the interest of time, I'll keep it very, very brief. I noticed that these meetings have gone really into the late hours of the night, and basically mainly because of the number of presentations that we've had. I propose to you that maybe two things that you might want to look at when it comes to public hearing schedule. One is, number one, that they may, if you shall so choose, consider to have them on a Tuesday rather than on a Monday, especially when you have long weekends that are, they off, that they detach you from.
The words right out of my mouth.
And the second proposal that I'm making to you is that we start anywhere between 5:30 and 6, so that we're clearly taking at least an hour on presentations. That will, take care of that initial component, give you time for the presentation, and then the people that are here for the actual public hearing cases, they'll be here on time without a problem.
Why don't we increase that thought and move the entire council meeting to Tuesdays, so that during the summer when we have staff members who are taking vacations or taking long weekends, we're not missing out. Why don't we toss around the idea, Florida City does it, move our council meetings from Mondays to Tuesdays.
Oh, man.
So that when long weekends come up, I think it works. I mean, Florida City's been doing it for many, many years. I like your idea and your thought of doing what you said, strictly the separating the items, but I think then you created a second meeting. You bring anybody here 2 times. Let's just move the council meetings from Monday, or consider or talk about moving the council meetings from Monday to Tuesday. Richard, how many people around the 35 municipalities do a Tuesday?
A lot of communities do have it on Tuesday. Homestead's the only one that I know of that has it on.
I think it's
Monday. I'd ask you if you're going to do it not to make it on the 3rd Tuesday, because a lot of communities that we service have it on the 3rd Tuesday.
Do it on the 1st Tuesday or 2nd Tuesday, whatever, of each month. I know staff would appreciate it, because
Either Tuesday or Wednesday,
I
depending
missed
on the
this. I'm not
municipality.
sure
No,
what
we're
we're
switching
talking
council meeting, just talking about it. We're just strictly, Sergio brought
In
something
order
else.
to do that, why don't we,
It can be a month or two down the road.
we have to amend the resolution, the council resolution, that's where that meeting time is stated and the date, but we can change it. So maybe we'll just put on the next cow agenda discussion of this, and then we could have a resolution.
Great thought, Sergio.
Just for clarification, too, he's saying start the presentations earlier, noted just presentations, and then actually the council meeting 1 hour later.
Exactly.
So that that stuff can be handled before the actual council meeting and attorneys don't show up and all.
Correct.
Thank you.
That's fine. I like that better, Mayor, than moving the meeting to Tuesday.
No, I'm with you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Mr. Manager?
That's it, sir. That's all I have.
Okay. Councilman Lewis, here, Maldonado.
Thank you, Mayor. Make it quick. Take one for the team here. Ed Bull is out, and hopefully he gets a speedy recovery. I'm covering hurricane season for 2010. Hurricane season's upon us right now, and we are going to read here some information that they gave us to share. Captain Ed Bull was supposed to be here and helping me out with this, but I'm taking one for the team. The key to getting through hurricane season is through preparedness. Officers from the community policing unit will be providing the public with general information about hurricane planning and preparation. The next scheduled event will be this Saturday, June 26th, from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Publix and Oasis Shopping Center. That's the Publix at Oasis across from Homestead Hospital. The police department is also collaborating with the Red Cross, and it will be providing information on family emergency planning and the contents of an effective disaster supply kit. The city has produced a 2010 emergency preparedness guide that is full of helpful tips and information. Copies are available at the back of the council chambers. And also a PDF version of the guide is also available online on the city's website, at cityhomestead.com. And that's it for that. And only thing I just want to say quickly, again, thank you to all the staff and everyone who helped out with the education luncheon that we had. Again, we brought all the education personnel, principals, staff, chief was there, all his staff, city manager was there with all his staff, council member Jimmy Williams and Vice Mayor Judy Wallman were there and they helped out as well. So thank you for everyone who put in their effort. And like I said, we heard a lot of good things from this. We got a lot of, they submitted suggestions that were left on cards. So we'll be working with that. And hopefully, if everyone gets back to us, we should be having our second education meeting on July 1st. So that's all for me. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Shelley.
I'll keep it quick again due to the late time, but I do want to kind of drive home the point, Mr. Manager, that I made earlier tonight, and that is, regarding our agenda packet, I would like to have it Wednesday at 5 if at all possible, because, again, I have a busy schedule, and so for me to read the packet and then get an opportunity to speak with you or staff or whatever the issues might resolve and become educated, that gives me time, because we've been getting them at 5 o'clock, either Thursday night or Friday, and it gives us very limited time. So I just want to drive that point home to do whatever is necessary. Even if you can't miss the full packet, let us know what's going to be on the agenda. Give us what you have as soon as you have it, and that way I can make better decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Wallman.
Okay, I'm going to try to go as fast as I can.
We have 4 minutes.
Oh, my God.
And we have to call for
well, we might as well call
an addition.
because...
No, 10:30.
Okay, 10:30 on my leg here. All right, the Charter Review Committee, this is your last chance. If you want to serve on the committee, please get your names in. I've been waiting, and right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 names that I will submit to the mayor, and the mayor will then appoint and select the committee. But this is your last chance, so if you want to serve, please contact the city clerk and give her your information. A resume should be attached to that as well. Excuse me. The Tourism Committee met, and we're working on a lot of different projects. One is the welcoming signs, Mayor, and I was going to bring it forward today, but we had some delay in some of the plans forthcoming, so that will be done in July at the COW meeting. I organized a meeting with the police department regarding summer safety in the park, and that's what we named the program, Summer Safety in the Park, because we are anticipating the school being out, having some problems. We have a plan in place, and hopefully everyone will be able to enjoy a beautiful, uneventful summer in our parks. Our summer camp started last week, and we're full. 100, we're full. Where's Dennis? Done. Full. And it's working beautifully. Everybody's happy, and I'm happy. Movie night in the park, we put that together in about 2 weeks, and it was fabulous. So we had over 150, close to 200 people attend with only 2 weeks' notice and really no advertising except just posters that we put out on a banner. So we're going to be doing that quite a bit throughout the year. I've had a number of meetings regarding Roscoe Warren Park and Whitcott Park, and I'm excited to say that we are moving forward. Groundbreaking will probably be, 2 weeks on Roscoe Warren Park, and within just a couple of weeks on Whitcott as well. Right, Dennis? Okay, so we're moving forward with that. I met with Dade County Parks and Recs Director Jack Cardis, Councilman Williams, about Tatum Park and all of our other parks that we have, and he was so gracious to come and visit and give us some ideas, and he will be getting back to me on Tatum Park, so I'll be giving a report on that, Mayor, Council, and Mr. Williams within the next month. I'm very excited just to tell you that customer service, thank you so much, Mayor Bateman, for allowing me to delve into this. But in the first week of March, I set up a comprehensive in-house review of the billings and the collections functions of the service division. And Jerry and Richard, they've been wonderful. You know, we're going to have a workshop on this so we can talk about it more. But I just wanted to give you a few facts. And this has just been since, I think, March 11th was our first meeting. But the average wait time decreased to 15 minutes in May, and the average wait time per incoming telephone call decreased to 2 minutes and 51 seconds in May from 19 minutes and 41 seconds in January. Total number of delinquent accounts were reduced to 8,356 from a total in March of 10,341, and that's huge. That's huge. Customer Service Department is stepping up utility shutoffs, and we've worked diligently on this. We want to do this in a fair, excuse me, and precise manner. All utility customers should review their utility bills, because it's up to you to determine your account status and whether you may be at risk in your utilities being shut off. We've had some problems lately where people are being shut off now because we had a lack of manpower. That was our problem, and now we're out there and we're doing our job. And so just please be aware. And if you have any questions about your bill, you can contact customer service at 305-224-4800. It's 305-224-4800. And again, as I said, we'll be setting up a customer workshop very soon. And Mayor, I know you're going to be thrilled. Within 2 weeks of us getting this together, we were able to collect over $1 million. So, and we plan on collecting much, much more. And this has just been because we've been diligent. We've sat there. We've thrown every idea in the world, and if we'd throw it against the wall and hopefully something would stick, and it has. So I'm very proud of Jerry and Richard and the entire customer service division. Thank you for working with me. Okay, 4th of July. Hopefully everybody has flyers. I bet there's none back there, but this is Race to the 4th. This year we decided that we would ask the racetrack to allow us to joint venture with them to have our fireworks at the racetrack. And we weren't sure what they'd say, but they said yes. So we are at the racetrack, Race to the 4th. The time will be Sunday, July 4th from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. We have 2 bands that are going to be playing. The names are, it's Dr. Chasner's band, been there, done that, and some of the original Travelers band. It's now called No Restrictions. We have Thunder Country, that's going to be our MC. We have vendors. We have a ton of stuff for the kids. all kinds of things for the kids, and everything's going to be held in the infield. So people who have never had an opportunity to go to the racetrack will actually be right there down on the track. I think it's going to be fabulous. Loretta, who you heard sing tonight, our chaplain that did the prayer, she's going to be singing as well, and we're going to have a couple of choral groups. So it's all free. I hope you come out and visit with us. Race to the 4th, Sunday, 5 to 10. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Williams.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Let me make this housekeeping. We have a Southwest Advisory Board meeting Thursday, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to postpone it. So I can direct the clerk to give the members a call. The reason why I'm postponing is because if my wife does not have the baby by Thursday, she has to be induced. So that is a good reason. I hope that the members and the community understands that. But that is the only reason why we are postponing that. Also, at the FICO Williams Building this Thursday, from 4 to 7, the State Attorney's Office will be there to help those who have criminal records, to help them expunge their records or seal their records. And the time is from 4 to 7, June 24th, from 4 o'clock p.m. to 7 p.m. with the State Attorney's Office there to help those who may have to get their rights restored back. And so we want to make sure that that gets out. We need as many people as possible, and hopefully we can get the number that we need. If not, they won't be bringing it back to the FICO Williams Building. So it's very important and vital that we kind of make sure that we help those individuals restore their rights. Also, I'd like to look at an ordinance, Mr. Manager. I talked with the attorney about it, ordinance number 2009-615, and that is the nuisance ordinance. And the reason why I want to either relook at or repeal it, in my area, and you and Julio have done a marvelous job in helping me trying to redo, but the swell area in the southwest, and I noticed some in the northwest, it's very difficult aesthetically. And with this ordinance, it put the burden on the taxpayer to keep up the swell or the abutting property. And I have a couple cases, scenarios where it wasn't given in good condition, and if the sidewalk is broke, then it's a burden on the taxpayer to repair it. And in the ordinance, it says that the city manager has the discretion to decide if the taxpayer should do it, or the property owner should do it, or the city. So I think we need to relook at that. It places a whole lot of hardship on the property owner to do such that, especially when in these hard economic times. In some of my areas, I have, because of the garbage pickup, I think we need to look at other mechanisms for our bulk trash pickup. I know in some communities they have baskets to where people put the trash in, bulk trash, and the truck comes by and without touching the ground. It is creating potholes. You can see everything in there. Even you can fish out there if you want, because the holes are so large. But all jokes aside, I think we need to really look at that. And Richard, how do we go by doing repealing or revisiting that ordinance? Because it's not a one-size-fits-all. It works in other areas, but it does not work in the area that I serve.
Yeah, I think the first step would be to have the manager's office look at it and see, perhaps there's a procedure where the council can exempt a certain area, or whether but I would start with the manager's office, have them start to look at it, and then once they decide the right way to deal with those situations, then they could talk with us and we could draft something up if we have a consensus of council to sort of look at that. That's all right?
Yeah, that's fine, as long as we address it. But right now, I have the streets, and John Cook and his crew has been very good in going around, and I appreciate that, Mr. Manager, and for allowing me to take those persons around to show them the critical areas that need the work, and so I want to thank you for that. Also, as it relates to the meeting times, and I have to agree with my colleague here,
that if we don't get so much of this stuff crammed at the last minute, the meeting probably wouldn't be as long. And so I like the idea about having the presentations an hour before the meeting. That way it gives us time, and that way we don't have to change the date, the day of it. And so I hope that you all would look at that. That was a great idea. That's all that I have, Mayor. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Burgess.
Thank you, Mayor. I still have one opening on the Homestead Community Image Advisory Board. We'll be resuming the meeting again in August, as I'm going to be out of the country on a regular scheduled July, so we'll start that back in August. And I want to thank Tom Lampert, Sally Woods, Captain Graham, and the rest of the code compliance. The last couple of weeks, we've been working on Kingman Drive over there and trying to get a situation cleaned up with some of the developers who have gone beyond their stay with signage and flags and stuff like that. So we've been cracking down on them. They're starting to comply a little bit, but we're going to get, if they're not done here in a couple of weeks, then we will be getting even more serious with them because it's time for them to clean up. And then after we get that area cleaned up, we're going to focus on another. But the problem is that if people don't comply with what code compliance asks and what the city codes put out for them, then code compliance becomes so burdened with stuff that we never can get anything accomplished. So I was trying to do it every 4 weeks, where we would take on another quadrant in the city and then go back through it and work on it. But with the lack of participation from the people that we've asked to clean up stuff on the east side of town, we're still over there, stuck kind of in the mud. So we're pushing forward, and I want to thank everybody for their hard work. I know it's not a fun job to call up and ask people to comply to the code, but unfortunately they're here in our city and they need to. And at some point they're going to have to realize that. So thank you to all those people for helping. Just a quick update. The Vice Mayor did bring up AT&T earlier, and the lack of a local channel. I spoke with Mr. Tim Craig, who represents wears many different hats for the Keysgate neighborhood. AT&T has moved on and has done another large area of the Keysgate neighborhoods that they're due, but they ran into a problem over there and they've had to pull some new cable and stuff, so they're a little bit behind where they were. They had already hoped to have had the channel up and going, but as soon as they get this problem resolved and get caught up with the installations and all that, because what happened, I guess Comcast gave them a shut-off date, so they're scrambling, working. I saw the guys out there past 10 o'clock last night working, AT&T guys working, trying to get things going. So as soon as they get caught up and get to a certain point, they know that they need to come up with a solution for us, and they're working on it. It's they're in a learning process with this TV stuff. You know, it's a whole new thing that they're taking over, but they're doing a good job. For me anyway, I've got them, and they are going to have a channel. It's just getting to it when they get some other roadblocks taken out of the way. So thank you.
A lot of upset people right now, I tell you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Burgess. I'd like to make the announcement for the ribbon cutting for the Homestead Trolley. If you want to view it, kind of scoop in on that right there. The City of Homestead invites you to its inaugural Homestead Trolley ribbon cutting, Wednesday, June 23rd, Ware Losner Park, 104 Chrome Avenue. The first trolley ride will commence immediately after the ceremony. That's 10 o'clock, Losner Park. And these are nice little rider's guides, and these can be picked up here at the City of Homestead. Nice job. And the rider's guide it outlines where the trolley is going to go. So we'll see you Wednesday, 10 o'clock. Also, I have an appointment to ratify. Apparently, the board, Planning and Zoning Board, doesn't do it. I assume it's back to me because it's, I guess, my
right. The P&Z Board has a very unique ordinance which provides that the vice chair of the P&Z Board and the chair are both nominated by the mayor, subject to confirmation by the council.
Okay. Well, my nomination is Michael Taylor. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Any nays? Okay. All right. Motion. I tell you one last thing is my condolences to Kurt Ivey. the loss of his daughter. I attended the evening services, and I know that the Vice Mayor wanted to say a few words too, but my thoughts and prayers go out to him. A wonderful person. That's a very, very tough situation, to lose a child like that, and I'm sure all the council feels the same way. Okay. Thank you. All right, motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Okay, second?
Second.
We're all kind of like falling around over here. Thank you for staying.
You really like it here, don't you?
We never vote on that motion. We always have the motion.
It's not.
What is it?